capital. Obviously, I can't think of a better job than being mayor.
Now, more with Jim Watson coming up later this morning on The Rob Snow Show. Also on that show today, declared candidates for Ottawa Mayor Diane Deans and former Mayor Bob Chiarelli. This afternoon at 1 o'clock, the only other declared candidate, at least so far, Somerset Councillor Catherine McKinney, will be on the Sam LaPrade Show. City News Time 9:01. Now your forecast with meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Temperatures well above average for us today will climb to 5 degrees. Some clouds to start, sunshine for the afternoon. The average high is about -3, and again, we're well above that with the high 5. Tonight, mainly clear, -1, and tomorrow, sun and cloud about +2. For today, the high, 5.
And right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, it's 4 degrees. An initial crush of people trying to book their COVID vaccine booster shots as that portal opened for those 50 and older at 8 o'clock this morning. We get more from City News reporter Jamie Pulfer.
It's game on today for more third doses in this province. Anyone 50 and over is now officially eligible to book appointments, but it has to be at least 6 months since shot number 2. We've received some complaints for people who are eligible but having issues booking through the provincial portal, also some local health unit systems. It may have been that initial rush, though, and for those getting through, there is a bit of a wait due to all the demand. Booster eligibility is set to open up to all adults in the new year, but we can't afford to wait that long, according to experts like Toronto ER Dr. Kashif Pirzada.
We've been through this 3-4 times already. Let's hope the 5th time's a charm. Hopefully they'll make the right decision to open up third doses for the vast majority of the population.
With the highly transmissible Omicron variant coming in hot, the timeline could be moving up here. Dr. Isaac Bogosh is a member of the province's vaccine task force and tweets, "Watch to see an accelerated third dose COVID vaccine strategy emerge in Ontario this week. It's happening." The Toronto Star reports boosters could be available to those 18 and over starting next week, obtaining a memo from top Ontario public health officials that spells out an accelerated booster plan that aims for vaccination levels achieved back in the spring and summer when Ontario topped about 240,000 a day. Jamie Pulfer, City News.
City News Time 9:03. People across 5 of the United States are picking up the pieces after a historic and devastating tornado outbreak. David Muir tells us this morning from Mayfield, the Kentucky town that saw some parts destroyed.
Think about this. A tornadic supercell carved a path of destruction 200 miles long. It gives you an idea of the ferocity of these tornadoes here. And at that candle factory not far from where we're standing, those workers trying to fulfill Christmas orders, so many of them trapped in the rubble when the tornado hit. They spoke of the smell of candles. The rescue workers, they could smell the vanilla scent when they arrived on the scene.
Now, authorities are still trying to determine the total number of dead. It's due to confusion over how many were able to escape the factory and the difficulties of searching other hard-hit areas. Door-to-door searches are still impossible in some places. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Good, bad, or complicated.
There's no news in Ottawa and the Valley he won't talk about.
It's the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
And the gang's all here, ready to rock the news. Welcome to the Rob Snow Show on City News. Thanks again for spending some time with us this morning. We love it when you do that. We're going to cover a lot of ground between now and noon. And when you include the Sam LaPrade Show this afternoon, by the end of business today, you will have heard from the outgoing mayor and all the candidates who have so far said, "I want the job. I want to be next mayor of Ottawa." So coming up on our show, he's still the mayor of Ottawa. Jim Watson had about 15 minutes of his time this morning, tried to cover as much territory as we could. It's hard to fit a 30-year political career into a 15-minute radio interview, but we did our best. That news broke Friday morning that the mayor is calling it quits, won't seek re-election in next fall's municipal election. So we'll talk about what's next for him, what he wants to do with his remaining time as mayor of Ottawa, unfinished business, regrets and successes. You'll hear that interview coming up at 11:30 this morning here on City News. Now, within hours of Mayor Watson's revelation that he's not running came the announcements from the candidates who are running. And you will hear from two of them this morning on the Rob Snow Show. City Councillor Diane Deans is going to take a run at the big job. She has had her hands full in this term of council as the chair of the Police Services Board. In the past, during her time on council, she was also chair of the Community and Protective Services Committee. That's another big job for the city. That committee is in charge of all the city's social services and emergency services, save the police, but fire, paramedics, bylaw, all of that. And she has butted heads from time to time with Jim Watson. She is not a card-carrying member of the Watson Club. No way. Remember recently the mayor cut her microphone off during a city council meeting. The mayor apologized for that. But Councillor Deans told me as recently as a couple of weeks ago that she also considers herself to be fiscally conservative when it comes to property tax increases. So, look, her decision to jump into the race is not unexpected. Her name has been out there for a while as a potential candidate. And now it's official. She's in it, and I would imagine she plans on winning it. Councillor Deans, that's at 9:30 this morning here on City News. Just before that, around 9:15 or so, Bob Chiarelli, former mayor, former regional chair, former MPP and cabinet minister in the provincial government. And he told us first here on the Rob Snow Show on City News that he was planning to run. And then he confirmed it again on Friday. Bob Chiarelli is 80. He's 80 years old. Oh, to look as well as Bob does when I turn 80. Oh, to see 80. He refutes any claim that he is yesterday's man or that he's too old for the job. He has won many elections. He's lost a few along the way. Lost to Larry O'Brien in a municipal election. Lost in the provincial election to Jeremy Roberts of the Progressive Conservatives when the Liberals were routed across the province. And Ottawa West Nepean went from Liberal red to Tory blue. But for some people, when they hear that name, Bob Chiarelli, it'll be a case of been there, done that. Got the T-shirt. But he's serious. And he's been laying the groundwork and doing the outreach. If anything, he might have a head start on everyone else. So we will revisit this morning with Bob Chiarelli why he is so interested in running for mayor in 2022. So that's not bad for for a morning's work. Mayor Watson, Councillor Deans running for mayor. Former mayor Bob Chiarelli wants to be mayor again. All on the Rob Snow Show this morning. And then this afternoon at 1 o'clock during the Sam LaPrade Show, Sam's guest will be Councillor Catherine McKenney. 1 o'clock. Councillor McKenney announced on Friday they're going to take a run for the mayor's job as well. So we have the whole cast of characters on City News today who are looking to take a run at the top job in the city. And I want to ask you about this early race and how things are shaping up. Okay. This broke Friday morning around the midway point of the Friday show that Mayor Watson isn't running again. And I didn't get much of a chance to ask you about his decision to ride off into the sunset on a light rail train. Call it a municipal political career after more than 30 years in politics as a city councillor, as an MPP, as a cabinet minister, as a mayor. Fingerprints are all over Ottawa. He says, Mayor Watson says he made this decision years ago. 3 years ago. While he was watching the election results come in 2018. In his letter announcing his decision, he said, that's when he knew. that it was going to be his last election, turning 60, wants to do something else. He is Ottawa's longest-serving mayor. When he was first elected as mayor of the old city of Ottawa, he was Ottawa's youngest mayor. Youngest mayor ever elected at the age of just 36. Been around a long time. Won many elections. I don't think Mayor Watson ever lost an election. And some people are wishing him well, and others are not being so kind. I want to know your reaction to the news that this will be Jim Watson's last year as mayor of Ottawa, and he's not seeking another term. What's your reaction to that? You think that's a good thing for the city? Or do you wish he would run again? He won the last election with 70% of the vote. 70% of the vote. That was just 3 years ago. Has his star fallen that far that it's out of the question that he could have won again? We'll never know. I think he could have won again. When you think about Jim Watson and his time as mayor of Ottawa, what comes to mind? Now, he says he made up his mind that he wasn't going to run again, that he made up his mind 3 years ago. And that his decision has nothing at all to do with the problems with light rail. Has nothing to do with the fact that there's going to be a public inquiry into light rail that was called by the province. Has nothing at all to do with all of these rumors that Phase 2 is way behind schedule. Probably some news on that later in the week. Whatever's going on with light rail, signature infrastructure project in Ottawa's history, whatever's going wrong with it, it impacted in no way the mayor's decision on his political future. Had nothing to do with its decision to make this the final year as mayor for him. He says, do you buy that? And look, it's early. It's only been a few days. But when you think about how this race is kind of shaping up here, who do you want to be the next mayor of Ottawa? We know it's not going to be Jim Watson. Who should it be? 3 people have put their names out there already. They've let it be known they want the job. They are Catherine McKenney, Somerset Ward Councillor, Diane Deans, City Councillor, Gloucester Southgate Councillor, and former Ottawa Mayor Bob Chiarelli. If those are your options, who do you prefer? If those are your options, is there someone else you would like to see on the ballot? Names, lots of names. I've heard lots of names in the last 3 days. Matthew Fleury, Rito Vanier, Councillor, Carol Ann Meehan, City Councillor. Vern White, I've heard his name, former Ottawa Police Chief. Walter Robinson, former Chief of Staff to Mayor O'Brien, and a dozen other positions. Frequent commentator on the Rob Snow Show. I've heard his name mentioned. Catherine McKenna, former Environment Minister in the Trudeau government, former Ottawa Centre Member of Parliament. I heard she wasn't interested in politics anymore. That's what I heard, but I thought she said that on the record. But anyone, just throw a name out there. Do you have your heart set on someone? Hey, do you want Jim Watson to reconsider and run again? Please don't go. Have you thought this out, Mr. Mayor? Hey, it's early, but the race is starting to take shape. The biggest decision has been made. Watson is out. And that means a lot of people will think, now's my chance to get in. I want to see what way you're leaning right now. That's why we do the Talkback Hour every morning here on the Rob Snow Show, coming up between 10 and 11 o'clock. Consider it an early, totally unscientific public opinion poll on the mayor's race in Ottawa. And 750-1310, you don't have to press buttons. You can talk to a real live person. That's me. the next mayor of Ottawa. Who should it be? Bob Chiarelli thinks it should be him. And he's next here on The Rob Snow Show on City News.
The children were all tucked away.
This affected us big time because when, you know how we are seasoned. We have clothes for the spring, clothes for the winter. At that time, lots of clothes didn't arrive on time from Europe or from here because some factory shut down. So, and this put us in an odd position. We received not all the merchandise, part of the merchandise. And people, and for us, we have to be careful, you know, especially with the virus going on. Like, did affect the business, of course, like everybody else. We're not immune, and since the government helped, you know, this did a little bit good for us too, but still affected all the sectors, especially clothing. You know, you can see big corporation affected bad because nobody was like thought it's gonna be like this. You know, earthquake might happen. We joke about it before. Think it might happen, but this was like a third war, but with a virus. So how to survive? That's the question, and we're doing our best to work with the mall, especially rent in a mall is very high. The government, they have certain, let's say, condition, like how many people will be in a mall or in the stores, etc. Yeah, it's a big factor, but of course, if my store has a back doors, or just will be better, it will be much better. At least we can have curbside much easy, because we have to shut down completely, you know. And this left a mark on us, on everybody too. People always ask me, go online. Certain things you can't go online. Let's say T-shirt, certain product people don't know how to fit. But when it comes to clothing, like it's different completely. Let's say I have a customer comes, you can give him 44, but certain suit he might take 42, certain suit he might take 46. So, and how could, I mean, suit is not gonna fit the same. And I see people come back and they show me what they got online and not the same fabric. Mostly young people, but if you really want to shop, you have to go to the store because everything will be around you. You want to be sure the color look good, the fit will look good, especially when you spend, doesn't matter how much money, whether 300 or 2,000, you know? You have to try, you have to see what's going on. Please don't be shy, contact us. It will be a pleasure for me to take a suit or coat or anything. Like sometimes people have a funeral, they have things, they have a wedding, they don't want to come to the mall. If I get all the information, I will go and meet them at their home or their business offices. I'm gonna start doing that, you know, and this will help the business and help the people. Like they're afraid to come to the mall for time being, or they're too busy at work. They cannot go anywhere at a certain time, so I'm glad to do that.
On Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Bob Chiarelli is running for mayor in 2022. And Bob Chiarelli joins me once again this morning on the Rob Snow Show on City News. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
Mayor Watson announced he's not seeking re-election, made that official on Friday. What's your reaction to that news, Mr. Chiarelli?
Well, first I want to say Jim was very professional and very comfortable in his announcement, and it was well done. And I'm sure he'll find himself a new significant career going forward, and I want to wish him well in that.
Okay. Well, I mean, Jim is about to walk down the same path you walked down. What's life like post-mayoralty in Ottawa?
For me, it was very active and very engaged and still doing work in the community in a significant way and enjoying it. But one of the things that is animating my interest, of course, is what's happening at City Hall.
Yeah, okay. Why do you want the job? You've had the job. Why do you want the job again?
Well,
what motivates you?
I believe the perspective of a lot of people is that almost everything has been moving in the wrong direction in the city. You know, there's escalating debt, which has doubled under current mismanagement. The city's on the hook for a $361 million sinkhole and LRT delay costs, which they have little chance of recovering in court. And as well, the city has a large, very large infrastructure deficit, which has been allowed to grow to unacceptable levels, such as the condition of our roads and facilities, and a significant affordable housing deficit. The city has been extremely slow in implementing climate change adaptation. Lots of talk and little action, particularly compared to other cities across Canada and across Ontario who have made much more progress in that regard. And of course, there's a Lansdowne debacle.
Okay, what do you mean Lansdowne debacle? What makes Lansdowne a debacle?
What makes Lansdowne a debacle
yes.
is that the project that was put in place has not been successful. There's a very, very strong, broad consensus of that. They're at a position now where they've got to do major renovation and rework the site. Mm-hmm. That is going to cost a lot of money, which the city does not have. So there's a real predicament there that has to be dealt with. And I really appreciate that most residents, including millennials and Gen X, want to see fresh ideas and new directions.
Yeah. Gen Z. I think you mean Gen
assure
Z,
them,
Bob. I think you mean Gen Z. I'm Gen X and I'm 50. So I think you mean Gen Z, the under 25. But look, here's something I want to run by you. The mayor has had this cap on property tax increases, this promise to property taxpayers. Your property taxes will increase, but they'll only increase by so much, by 2%, 2.5%. Latest one, 3%. And in listening to you, you cite infrastructure deficit, not enough affordable housing, social housing, debt left over from light rail, not enough action on climate change. All of this is expensive stuff, Mr. Chiarelli. All of it. Do you think, because I've been asking this for weeks now, do you think this cap, which is a political decision, this cap on property tax increases, be it 2% or 3%, is it handicapping the city's ability to deliver public services?
Well, I go back to my years as mayor.
Yeah.
And regional chair. Mm-hmm. And we had a policy of doing what's practical and doing what's needed.
But you also passed budgets that had 5% property tax increases. 5% property tax increases. Do you think
I didn't have 5% property tax increase. What we did was we froze taxes in a year. We had modest increases in a year. And when we required some additional dollars for infrastructure, for example, we went to a 4%. So it was practical, it was reasonable, and it worked quite well.
Okay, let's talk about something else here. So we have 3 people have declared their candidacy. You, Councillor McKenney, and Councillor Deans. Why you and not Councillor Deans? Or why you and not Councillor McKenney? Why would I vote for Bob Chiarelli instead of the other 2 who have declared so far?
Well, first of all, I welcome Diane and Catherine to the race. And I respect their credentials, and it's really beneficial for the city to have credible candidates with experience in the race. I look forward to debating. I look forward to comparing the platforms of the various candidates, and I'm there. And I'm a choice. I will be a choice.
Yeah, but why are you the best choice? You must think you're the best choice, right?
Well, I feel I can do an excellent job. I've got the experience. I've got the energy. I think I have public support and a lot of endorsements that are coming in. My record is I think very, very good. I am hearing people say they want to change in the mayoralty. A tremendous number of people are encouraging me to get in the race. I've got the experience as the Minister of Infrastructure, which directly affects the municipality. I was the Minister of Municipal Affairs. In that particular role, I delivered a lot to the city. and not only in a riding, but across the whole city, whether it was Hydro Ottawa or CHEO or whatever. I'm very, very proud of my accomplishments, and I think I can deliver that again. I have the energy, the experience to do that.
Okay. It's going to be up to the next mayor and the next city council, because phase 2 of light rail, we're already building that now. It may be behind schedule, but the construction is well underway. So now it's time to look even further ahead to phase 3. Do you think the city should keep expanding with light rail? Should we do phase 3 of light rail?
Well, the city is in big trouble, Rob. The city's piggy bank is empty or near empty. And for the new council, they'll need leadership. They'll need to work with the mayor to find careful cost savings, and may I say, in innovative ways. There's tremendous challenge, and I believe I've got the experience to try to bring that together. And not only that, I think that when we look at the divided council, the toxic council that we've had, that my principle has been, as regional chair and mayor, is to work openly with councillors, to be fair on council's responsibilities. My rule is I've always had an open door out of respect for each and every councillor. They could come and see me anytime they wanted. I'm a facilitator, an innovator, and a doer. The people who work with me on council will vouch for that, with an open door policy. That's my brand. That's my record.
Okay. But I'm trying to nail you down on phase 3 here, Bob. Phase 3. Well, let's look how worthwhile is a transit system that light rail transit that doesn't serve Barrhaven, Stittsville, and gets actually into the heart of Canada?
That's a very, very major mistake in the term of this administration, is that they've let that get away from them. And that has to be rectified one way or the other. So, yes, they had a federal election campaign, and the representatives from all the different parties gave lip service to, yes, we're going to find the money, yes, we're going to find. There's no commitment. But, about 3 weeks ago, the city manager, Steve Kanellakis, did an interview with CBC. The quote's on the public record. We cannot do an extension to Barrhaven and to Canada because there's not enough funding for it. That won't happen until after 2031. That's a huge disappointment to Canada and Barrhaven. And we have to work really hard to try to solve that problem. I don't have a magic wand right now.
Right.
But I do have the connections at Queen's Park. I do know how the Ministry of Infrastructure works at Queen's Park, and we will find a way to make that happen. But necessarily, even on one of them, they don't even have the environmental assessment. The time it takes to do an environmental assessment, to do the procurement, and to do the construction is like 8 to 9 years, if not longer. So that's what Barrhaven and Canada are looking at. That has to be a priority for any mayor who gets elected and for the council to try to bring that challenge to reality in terms of delivering to Barrhaven and Canada.
All right. Well, there will be lots of time to speak to you now that you are in the race and Mayor Watson is not in the race. Good luck to you, Bob Chiarelli. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Yep, nice to hear from you. He wants to be the next mayor of Ottawa. That is former mayor of Ottawa, Bob Chiarelli. Councillor Diane Deans also hopes to be the next mayor of Ottawa. She'll join me next, right after the news. This is City News.
Shea 106 plays the icon. City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, December 13th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, 4 degrees. Here's what's making news this hour. It may be 10 months till the municipal elections in Ontario, but the marathon has begun for at least 3 people in Ottawa. So far, it's those 3 who want to sit in the mayor's chair. We'll be hearing from all 3 today on City News. Catherine McKinney, councillor for Somerset Ward, will be on with Sam LaPrade. That's this afternoon. The show starts at noon. Former Mayor Bob Chiarelli, who you just heard from, and current councillor Diane Dean, both on the Rob Snow Show, along with an interview with the current mayor, who will not run in October, Jim Watson. Those 50 and older by the tens of thousands logging on, phoning, or visiting the provincial COVID portal, doctors' offices, or pharmacies. So busy it appears that portal crashed for a time this morning. It's only been about an hour and a half, but some people have signed up for their booster shot. Also, word today, the province will be opening up COVID booster vaccines to everyone over the age of 18. That could start as soon as next week. A 15-year-old boy accused of killing 4 fellow students at his Michigan high school due in court today. It's just a procedural hearing for Ethan Crumbley, charged as an adult with murder, terrorism, and other offenses. For about 3 decades, governments have ordered the Bank of Canada to keep inflation between 1% and 3%. We'll find out shortly if that is going to hold, as the Finance Minister, Chrystia Freeland, and Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem will be releasing details on the government plan that will guide the central bank's inflation targeting regime. City News time, 9:34. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Our focus this morning is the early race for mayor. The city councillor for Gloucester Southgate, Diane Deans, joins me this morning. Good morning, councillor.
Good morning, Rob.
Very nice to hear from you. So you want the big job. You want to be mayor of Ottawa. Why?
I want to be mayor of Ottawa because I think that the city is craving some new leadership right now, and I think I have the knowledge and the experience and the passion for the city to lead it. And I think the city has been badly divided, especially over the last 4 years, and I think the rural and suburban communities have been pitted against the core, and I think we need someone that can bring us all back together because we're stronger together, Rob.
Okay. How would you do that?
Well, I think it starts with the very beginning of the term, bringing the councillors together and talking about what their passions are and what their strengths are, what their experiences and what they want to lead in the city, and making sure that we do some team building, because we need to work together. And as you know, this council has been divided on purpose, I would say. And so, we need to all be in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. And I think if we do that, that will put us on the right course to get us where we need to go, which is moving forward in the city.
Okay. On purpose, you say it's been divided on purpose. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think it was very deliberate at the start of the term that the mayor made a decision that he wanted to win pretty much every vote, and that he put people in place that were willing to support him. And as good as he may be, Rob, I don't think he's right on every vote, but that's what's happened this term. And that's not healthy for our democracy. And I think, we need to allow that debate to happen at the council table, because sometimes, when you collaborate and you work together, you come to a better place. And when you get more buy-in, the decisions are better too.
Right. I don't think he's been right all the time either, certainly not. But where do you think he's been wrong?
I think he was wrong in some of his choices, keeping counselors from the core off committees and out of leadership roles.
Right.
I think he's been wrong in cloaking the LRT system in a veil of secrecy. It goes on. I think there have been a lot of decisions that he's made that are not in the best interest of our community and have not gone particularly well. I think we should not have given $3 million to our Porsche dealership. I think that we have to recognize that we're in a climate emergency and we should be focusing on climate. We had an opportunity to, fund some energy evolution projects last week, but that was passed over. I could go on and on, Rob. There's a lot of things I think we could have done better.
Okay. So you want to take the city in a different direction?
I do.
Right? What does that different direction look like? What direction are we going in?
Well, the city has to be a place for everyone, and we have to recognize it's not a one-size-fits-all city. There are different needs in different parts of the city, and there are different needs amongst different age groups in the city, and amongst different ethnic groups in the city, and we have to consider the needs of all of our citizens and find some balance. And I think we've really been missing the balance in the last 4 years.
Okay. Why you? I just had Bob Chiarelli on, and I asked him why you and not Councillor Deans or Councillor McKenney. Why you and not Bob Chiarelli? Why you, not Councillor McKenney? What makes you the best candidate of the declared candidates so far?
Well, it's a great question, and ultimately the electors will answer that question on October 24th in 2022. For me, I think that it's the depth of experience that I bring to the table. I'm up on every single issue. I think I'm the one that, is sort of fiscally responsible and socially progressive. And I think that I understand balance and meeting all of the needs across this very diverse city. And, I know that there are people that want to get in their cars and drive, and we need to deal with their road issues. And I know that there are cyclists that want bike paths. And, I don't think we can put all of our eggs in any basket. So I think we have to have somebody that is willing to recognize there's a place for everyone in our city and find the balance in terms of the direction that we take going forward and the priorities that we set. And I think that's me.
Okay. You said that the light rail file has been under a veil of secrecy.
Mm-hmm.
How so? Give me an example there.
My favorite example is on March 18th or 19th in 2019 when we were awarding Phase 2 contract. Mm-hmm. And I sat at that council table that day and I asked Rob probably 15 different times if they could just tell me if SNC-Lavalin, who was being recommended for the Phase 2 award of the contract, had met the technical score. And Rob, they wouldn't answer the question. They never told council, the only person sitting at that council table, the elected person, that day that knew the answer to that question was Mayor Jim Watson. He did not tell his colleagues. All of the senior staff, all of the high-priced lawyers, everybody that was sitting at the table, nobody told council. Do you think council would have awarded a contract to a company that had not even met the technical score? I mean, they didn't even have...
I remember that, Councillor Deans. You only had 10 days to make up your mind, right?
I know.
Phase 2.
And
would you have voted any different? Would you have voted any different?
I voted against it, so no, I wouldn't have voted. Because
you voted against it, okay.
I was one of the 3 people who voted against it because I didn't believe them. And I told them that day that I didn't believe them. And but the majority of council didn't have that information, and they, put more faith and trust than I did. But council can only make good decisions if council has good information, and council has to be provided the information to make those decisions. And that has not happened. And and now look at the mess we're in. So I'm going to lift the veil of secrecy on the LRT project. And as you know, I pushed really hard for a public inquiry because I think that we need to get to the bottom of what went wrong so that we don't continue to repeat the same mistakes of the past.
What do you think about the merits of Phase 3? There's no funding commitment for Phase 3. I mean, Phase 1 has had its problems. Phase 2 is well under construction now. I mean, it's not like we're going back on Phase 2 at this point. But Phase 3, what should happen there to get this thing to Canada, Barrhaven, Stittsville? Should it go to Canada, Barrhaven?
I think we really need to, have those conversations with upper tier governments to determine what their tolerance is for funding Phase 3. I mean, ultimately, we're a long way down the path on LRT in this city, and that it needs to go where the people are to make it work effectively. But it needs to be a value for money proposition. So we need to know that we're going to have ridership. We need to address the drought of riders that we have on our system right now. We need to, consider the impact of COVID-19 on the future of public transit in this city, and we need to make some tough decisions. So I think there is a lot of information that we need to receive. There's important conversations we need to have to ultimately make that decision.
I mean, we have people, transit right now is quote unquote free right now for the month of December, right?
Right.
And there will be no fare increase until there are 15 trains. But advocates are out there, public transit advocates are out there saying we should make it free forever. Public transit. What do you think of that? Is that even feasible? I mean, that's a big dollar figure there. Hundreds of millions of dollars there.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no free ride, if you will, Rob. I mean, somebody has to pay for it. So the question is, what makes most sense in terms of public transit in Ottawa, and who should ultimately be paying for that service? And what are the goals? And what are the, cost avoidances if we lower the fee? And is there some sort of middle ground on that? What we have to do is we have to match the demand on ridership with the supply of public transit that we have. Because running empty trains and buses doesn't make sense either. But, ultimately, there's only one taxpayer, and our taxes are already high in this city. So we have to be very cautious about every dollar we spend.
Okay. I don't want to pry, but your battle with cancer.
Yeah.
How's your health now, Councillor Deans? You're good and everything?
I feel
clean
really
bill of
good.
health?
I feel really good. I have to tell you that the thing about cancer is that it really focuses your mind on realizing that none of us are invincible and none of us are going to live together forever. So we better get on with our goals and our aspirations. And, one of mine is to lead the city. I believe that I have the skill set to do so. And hundreds of people have been asking me to do this. So for all those people that have asked me to do it, now's their opportunity to come out and help me. And I hope they will.
Okay. Hey, thank you, Councillor Deans. I look forward to our conversations over the course of this election year. Thank you again.
Bet. Okay. Always nice to talk to you, Rob. Bye-bye. Have a great day.
Councillor Diane Deans is running for mayor. Barry McLaughlin, senior partner, transformleaders.ca. We're going to go through our own leadership transformation here in the city of Ottawa, and we'll talk about that next with Barry on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
I'm blessed to be married to someone who is a scientist and spent a lot of time following what was happening over in China ahead of time. So he did give us the heads up that this was coming. Not that we believed him right off the bat, but when it did happen very, very quickly, we were prepared. We had hand sanitizer and we were set up to not close our doors. So we locked the kitchen down at Wellington Street, but we left this kitchen open. We put in protocols immediately. We only allowed our very small crew of 4 or 5 people in at the time. No deliveries were allowed to come in or out of the building without, they just weren't allowed in and out of the building. So we met them at the loading dock and had very strict protocols in place right away. We had masks and hand sanitizer and the whole thing. So we're very lucky from that perspective, and we're able to, learn as we went as far as doing small, individually packed caterings, the frozen soup program, food for the Ottawa Mission. So we didn't have to close the kitchen and then learn how to reopen it. We just were able to modify and shift as we needed to. Because of our partnership with the Ottawa Mission, we were able to very quickly help support them. They were able to send us some product and some supplies, so it wasn't a burden on our business, and we were able to supply the staffing and the packaging to help produce that when they needed it the most. And we produced about 1,400 meals a week to complement their meals, and we started our soup program right away. We realized very quickly that there was a need in the community to get together and all work together, not only to support local, but also just to support all the people that were suddenly in a position of, being locked down and not being able to get out. So by starting that soup program, our community, our clients got online and started making donations for the soups, and we were able to produce the soups and get them back out to people that needed it. We're right now currently making 150 liters of soup per week, but we've made, I would say, 5,000 or 6,000, easily since the pandemic. Probably more. I'd have to do the math, but lots. I think everybody in the city has to be very aware of how blessed we were to have great weather this summer and people were able to get out and about, and that's going to shift. So we do have to be much more aware of who our most vulnerable is, and I really think we have to work together as groups. There are so many organizations in the city that are doing something and contributing and working together, and I think it doesn't matter who, but see what you can do to just step up and help them, whatever it is, whether it's driving or delivering food, or someone has extra zucchini in their garden, or if they can afford to donate some money to any of these organizations. I just think we all have to work together. We're smarter and wiser than we were the first time.
Fun.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News 101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
Barry McLaughlin is back, senior partner, transformleaders.ca. I guess, Barry, this morning we're talking about leadership transformation because we're gonna go through it here in the city of Ottawa over the next year. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, it's great to hear from you. So Mayor Jim Watson is not going to seek re-election. Our interview with the mayor will come up at 11:30, but what do you think of his decision?
Well, I think one thing I've said to you a number of times is that, the politician has to have fire in the belly to want to go through it all over again. You've got to really feel it, and there's only one person that knows if he has fire in the belly. And perhaps Jim Watson felt, well, you know what? He's had his overall very strong record for many, many years, and I guess he just doesn't want to go through that all again. He appears to be confident, though, that he could win, and it's probably true. Like, in other words, it would be hard to beat him, but perhaps he just wasn't prepared to go through all of that all over again.
Mm-hmm. How should he be remembered, in your opinion? How will you remember Mayor Watson, his time as mayor of Ottawa?
Well, I think Jim Watson I was just talking in the present tense still. Jim Watson is somebody that has been able to pull across the political divides. There are a lot of conservatives that vote for him, a lot of liberals vote for him. Not sure about the NDP, but he's been able to man that center line. Like, he's been able to kind of, go down the center line. He wasn't, a flashy politician. He's not a flashy one, but he's there. He's hardworking and very focused, and it's hard to take him off his game. Yes, the LRT is seen right now as a big negative on him, but you know what? That story isn't over yet. And I think as we see phase 2 and phase 3 and so on roll out, I think the true vision of it will come to fruition for him, but it may well be after he leaves office rather than during it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I asked him this morning. He has no doubt that the city will be well served by that eventually.
Yeah,
Eventually.
I mean, its real vision is pulling in, from west to east. Right now, it's still not quite there. I mean, it's sort of an expensive version of bus service, but it's when it gets into its full phases 2 and 3, I think you're going to see that's what's going to be transformative.
Okay. So I've already interviewed this morning Bob Chiarelli. He's declared that he's running. He's 80, Barry. He's 80 now. And Councillor Deans was just on. She's running. And this afternoon at 1 o'clock on the Sam LaPrade show, it's Councillor McKenney also declared they're running for mayor. What do you think about the candidates that have so far said, I want the job?
Well, I mean, right now it's very interesting. Bob Chiarelli is the experienced candidate. The fact that he's 80, by the way, I think Joe Biden and Mick Jagger took care of that issue.
Okay.
I mean, if he starts showing his age, meaning if he starts to not have the energy and he becomes confused, well, that's a different matter. But it is ageism, and I think that he's being able to show that, hey, I think age is not the barrier, it's the age of your ideas. So I think people will be looking to Bob Chiarelli, okay, we know what you did, now what are you prepared to do? And I think that's extremely important for him. He also he should be the one to inherit the Jim Watson coalition. I mean, that's really going to be his natural forte. And I think that the other two candidates are interesting. Diane Deans, of course, has a tremendous amount of experience. I think that she is going to be, center-left, and she is very articulate, and I think will run a strong campaign.
Yeah. She has fire in the belly. There's no doubt about that. That comes through in an interview. Yeah.
And I think the McKenney campaign is going to be very interesting. She is obviously going to grab the left side of the spectrum. She's extremely articulate, very passionate and committed. She'll make it a horse race. So it's a three-way race right now. It doesn't mean there won't be somebody else coming in. There often is. But boy, you've got to show a strong vision for the future. People aren't going to put up with just, here's my experience, but rather, where do you plan to take us? And by the way, how do you plan to pay for it? I think people want to know that. So who grasps the issues is going to be critically important.
Yeah. It's already shaping up to be a pretty interesting race because I don't think we're done yet with with names.
There's more to come.
There'll be lots of names. Yeah. Okay. David tells me is a snippet of a Mel Lastman Bad Boy TV ad from 1995. Okay, let's play. Let's play that.
Right now, on all appliances, save a fortune. That's savings big time. Who's better for appliances? Nobody. Who's better for furniture?
Nobody. Right. Toronto Mayor Mel Lastman has died at the age of 88. Now, I don't recall, I'll be honest with you, much of his time as mayor, other than that he called in the army to help Toronto deal with the snowstorm. And we, of course, everybody who doesn't live in Toronto, never let them live that down.
Right.
But what are 6 years as mayor, so there's more to the man than that. What are your recollections of Toronto Mayor Mel Lastman?
Well, I was brought in on his first campaign for the mega city mayor. And,
you were? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I did his... I helped him with as much as I could with debate and media prep. Well into the campaign, there was a lot of bleeding going on, and my goal was to stop the bleeding. And I think the one thing I learned quickly, and it's something to realize nowadays a little more clearly, he did have a learning disability. Turns out, I think people now know more about that than they did then. But he couldn't hold a brief. So if you briefed him on something, he would not be able to absorb that. It's not something he could sort of take and run with. So I remember, for the debate prep, just a card, 3 bullets, a card on that issue, 3 bullets, a card on that issue. And he got up and he just read the 3 bullets, which wasn't quite the point of it. Right. But you know what? The bleeding stopped, and he was able to, sort of settle down. I think the great thing about Mel Lastman was he was a retail politician. He was 10 times mayor of North York. It's in the Guinness World Book of Records.
That is remarkable. I didn't know that about him.
And a very, very successful mayor of North York, and took it from the sleepy suburb into a real bustling center. And he did that really well. And part of it was it wasn't really much television, although they played city council on TV. That was always a circus. But he actually was a great retail politician. People loved meeting him. He loved meeting them. He connected with people on a personal retail level. The transition to major television and all media, boy, he really, that wasn't his thing. It really wasn't. And he would blurt out things. He would just say things, and so they were always quite controversial. And so it was, part of it was to kind of slow down and you can't totally prevent it, but to kind of get him focused on the issues and messages that he needed to be on. So the discipline of a campaign, he did pull it off against Barbara Hall, who was a very highly successful mayor of Toronto, and when it was a smaller, enterprise. And he managed to beat her in that election and won re-election a couple of years later. So you got to give him a lot of credit for turning his innate people skills into success at the ballot box, even though he basically didn't follow the rules of politics, that's for sure.
Okay, what do you make of these polling numbers for Erin O'Toole? I thought actually having the House of Commons back in session would be good for Erin O'Toole. It doesn't seem to be doing him much good. New Angus repoll suggests O'Toole's popularity among Canadians fallen by 5 points. It's his favorability ratings among his own Conservative Party members, including those who voted for him in the last federal election, down 22 points. What is going on there?
Well, obviously there was disappointment out of the election, even though he exceeded. Nobody before that election said, "Oh, he's going to be the prime minister." No, there was one person who predicted that, but he did so well in the first half of the campaign that expectations got raised way beyond. Yes, he did shift his policy positioning on key issues without the real consultation with members, and I think that created quite an animus negatively against him. But I do think that a leader of the opposition is never going to be able to grab the media the way the prime minister of the day can. He can turn the channel. He can actually move forward. The leader the opposition is there to criticize. And I think he's actually done a fairly good job in terms of what an opposition leader needs to do, hold the government to account, hold their feet to the fire. But that doesn't necessarily translate into public support. And I think a lot of the party members, the jury's still out there. I think they want to see him perform over time. He has time. He's been able to push back on this petition, and he's got, certainly a year or more before any kind of internal review. So he's got to start turning it around. Not easy to turn that around in an instant, but he's got to show progress.
Thank you, Barry. Great to hear from you this morning.
My pleasure, Rob.
Yeah, Barry McLaughlin from transformleaders.ca. We'll talk about leadership in the mayor's race. We're early into the mayor's race. We know one person's not running, and that's Mayor Watson. He's not going to seek re-election. 3 people have declared they want the job. Let's talk about this race for mayor during the Talkback Hour at 750-1310 after the news here on City News.
W1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 101.1 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, December 13th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, it's 4 degrees. In Smiths Falls, it's 5. And here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. One of the candidates for mayor in Ottawa next election is former Mayor Bob Chiarelli. He tells the Rob Snow Show one of his priorities.
You know, there's escalating debt, which has doubled under current mismanagement. The city's on the hook for a $361 million sinkhole and LRT delay costs, which they have little chance of recovering in court.
Now, the election isn't until next October, but Chiarelli, along with councillors Catherine McKinney and Diane Deans, have both indicated they are going to run as well. Both of those councillors coming up today on City News, on the Rob Snow Show, or with Sam LaPrade. City News time at 10:01, and now your forecast with meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Temperatures well above average for us today will climb to 5 degrees. Some clouds to start, sunshine for the afternoon. The average high is about -3, and again, we're well above that with the high 5. Tonight, mainly clear, -1, and tomorrow, sun and cloud about +2. For today, the high, 5.
And right now in Ottawa, 4 degrees. It is 5 in Smiths Falls. The province is reporting an additional 1,536 new COVID cases today, along with one more death. Now, Ottawa has 116 new cases. There are 26 in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 12 more in Eastern Ontario, and 1 new case in Renfrew County. 5.5% of the over 38,000 tests done for these numbers came back positive. It appears the portal to book your COVID vaccine booster shot crashed for a time this morning. It did open at 8 o'clock to those age 50 and older to register. Now, tens of thousands did try to log on this morning. With daily COVID case counts climbing and a higher contagious Omicron variant now spreading at an alarming rate, there's a growing sense of urgency about this shot number 3. Our Jamie Pulfer now with the latest on the COVID battle ahead of the holidays.
Racing the Omicron variant as the province tries to get more booster shots into more arms, with eligibility now officially open for those 50 and over, provided it's been at least 6 months since shot 2. The plan to open up third doses to those 18 and over wasn't supposed to start until January 4th, but Omicron concerns may have put a rush on that.
The situation has changed, and we have to change with it.
Experts like Toronto ER Dr. Kashif Prasada have been putting pressure on the Ford government to ramp up booster doses, just like they have in the U.S. and U.K. Dr. Isaac Bogosh, a member of the province's vaccine task force, tweets, "Watch to see an accelerated third dose COVID vaccine strategy emerge in Ontario this week." The Toronto Star reports all adults could be eligible for third shots before the holidays starting next week after obtaining a memo from top Ontario health officials. Jamie Pulfer, City News.
City News time at 10:03. While we dealt with high winds over the weekend, knocking out power to tens of thousands in Ontario, the states had to deal with a line of severe weather affecting 5 states. Rescue, recovery, and rebuilding operations are in high gear right now in Kentucky.
Entire blocks of homes were flattened by Friday night's tornadoes. Across 5 states, at least 34 people were killed, but others may still be missing. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear puts it in perspective.
It is the worst tornado event, 200 miles just in Kentucky of pure devastation. This town is gone. Dawson Springs, where my dad's from, just up the road, half of it is gone.
FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security promise support from Washington, while neighbors step up with offers of food, shelter, and elbow grease as the recovery begins. Jim Ryan, ABC News, Murray, Kentucky.
And I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa? Give me a name. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa? Give me a name. And what's your reaction to the news that Jim Watson will not seek re-election? What is your reaction to that news? Is that news that pleases you? Are you pleased that Jim Watson is not running again? Or were you hoping that he would run again? You think he's been a pretty good mayor? 750-1310, 750-1310. 613-750-1310. Every single line is available, and I'd love to hear from you on this Monday morning as we talk about how this race for mayor is shaping up and shaking out. There's going to be a new mayor of Ottawa next year, that's for sure, so who should it be? Give me a name. You must have someone in mind. You must have someone in mind. Give me a name. You have someone in mind. David Smith, producer of The Rob Snow Show, dynamite choice. 3 people, however, have declared their intention to run, and there might be a few more considering it. Of the 3 who have said they're going for it, we've interviewed 2 already. Councillor Deans and Shirelli, and now Councillor McKenney will be with Sam Laprade this afternoon at 1 o'clock on the Sam Laprade Show here on City News. They're all in. They say they want the job. Of those 3, who do you prefer? Who do you prefer? And all of this is happening, and it's in focus because Jim Watson, the longest-serving mayor in Ottawa's history, dropped the bombshell on Friday at around 10:30 that he's not going to seek re-election. So I'd like to know your thoughts on that. You know, your reaction to it when you think about the job that Mayor Watson has done during his time in office. You know, what comes to mind? What comes to mind is, does it generally put a smile on your face, or does it make you scowl? Ooh, Jim Watson, don't get me started about that Jim Watson. There are some people, they have that reaction to the mayor. They're happy that he's going. Now, look, there's still a long way to go between now and Election Day in the city of Ottawa. We still have about 10 months to go. But look, the race is shaping up. So I want to know who should be the next mayor of Ottawa, in your opinion. 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. Every line's available. The wait won't be too long. I mean, for the mayor, Jim Watson, I have to say, I was taken surprised by that decision. I admit that. I said as much about an hour before the news broke that he wasn't running again. I thought he would run again. And I thought if he did run again, he would win again. But none of that matters now because he's not running again. I still think he would win again, but it doesn't matter now. He says he made the decision back in 2018. He was looking ahead. He was thinking to himself, I'm going to turn 60. If I want another career, I have to make this my last election. And hey, he's totally entitled to that, right? For sure. For sure. You can't say, when it comes to Mayor Watson, you can't say he wasn't committed to the job. I mean, the job was his life. The job was his entire life. He's admitted that. He too much of his life. And he gave it his all. And for that, I think he deserves some recognition for that. But that being said, you can't help but point out some of the other obvious things going on and speculate about what factor that had in the mayor making the decision that he has now made and deciding not to run again. And I mean, light rail looms large, right? The upcoming public inquiry into light rail, called by the provincial government, the Ford government, not called by Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson. You can't help but think, geez, did that have anything to do with the decision? I know you say you made you made up your mind 3 years ago, but what, if any, role did that have to play in your decision to not seek re-election? We can only speculate. And given that Jim Watson has made this, he says he made this decision years ago, I guess we have to take his word that it played no role at all. But there's every reason to think that there would come a time, could still come a time, when Mayor Watson will be invited to appear at that public inquiry. That's never a good look. You're running for re-election and you're called as a witness at a public inquiry to answer questions about the launch of light rail. Not the kind of thing you put on a lawn sign. Re-elect Jim Watson, last seen at public inquiry. And it's not just about the substandard performance of Light Rail Phase 1, all the problems associated with that. Now Phase 2 is going to be in the news, right? Because there's going to be an update on how that part of the project is going, and rumors are swirling around the city that it's way behind schedule, like maybe a year behind schedule. So you have this signature project, so highly touted as being transformative for the city. Problems with Phase 1. Phase 1's never lived up to the billing. Phase 2 being built right now, maybe it's a year behind schedule. Legacy project for the mayor. I'm sure not the legacy that he was hoping to leave behind. My interview with the mayor comes up in an hour and a half, by the way. We spoke this morning. Debbie in Bell's Corners, thank you for calling. Debbie, good morning. You're on City News.
Good morning, Rob.
Morning, Debbie. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa?
Well, I don't really want any of the three that have jumped into the ring.
You have anybody else in mind?
Yeah, I do. I like Walter Robinson.
Walter Robinson, okay.
I like him very much. I think he would bring stability to council.
Okay.
He seems to be a very level-headed man. Mm-hmm. I've been listening to him for decades.
Yeah.
On different subjects.
Sure.
And he's a little more center-right.
He is center-right, yeah.
It suits my politics a little better, because I think to get the city in order, we just can't keep going left, because to me it's not working.
Okay.
So I like Walter Robinson. I also like Vern White.
Vern White, the former Ottawa police chief. Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
I think he would be another very good stabilizing influence on city council. And as for Jim, all I can do is wish him good luck. I don't think he was that bad a mayor, really.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
There's a lot of jokes about him, but good luck, Jim.
Oh, good luck, Jim. Okay. Very classy. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you. Yep. I'm sure there are some people who won't be nearly that kind. So who should be the next mayor of Ottawa? There's a couple of names for you. I'd like to know if you have a name in mind. There are 3 declared candidates already. And what is your reaction to the news that Jim Watson isn't running again? Is that something that, say, pleases you, puts a smile on your face? When that news came out on Friday, did it just make your Friday? Or were you hoping that he would run again? I heard a line the other day about politics. Don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. If you think about Jim Watson versus the alternative, maybe it puts it in a new light. But 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. Lori in the West End. Good morning. You're on City News. Good morning, Lori.
Good morning.
Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa?
Well, I think it's one of those things that it doesn't matter who comes into the office. You're never going to make anybody happy. I think Watson did a really good job. It's really sad and unfortunate that he won't be running again. So, as I like to call it, it's called polytricks. So, it doesn't matter. It's always going to be some trickster that gives you empty promises. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's how I feel.
That's how you feel. So you don't think it matters who the mayor of Ottawa is? Oh, I think it matters. I think it matters a great deal, Lori.
I think it matters. I just think that the people that we have running aren't going to be as influential or do as good a job as Watson.
Oh, really? Okay. You wish Watson was running again by the sounds of it to me.
I certainly do. I
You
think
do?
that
Okay.
there's not very many negative things that people can say about what he has done so far for us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Light Rail was going to make it tough. Not that he couldn't win again. In fact, I predicted he would win again, but Light Rail was going to make it tough. Absolutely. It's interesting when you read his letter, the letter he released on his website on Friday. Not much in there about Light Rail. A few lines of regret and a promise to hold RTG to account. It doesn't really go into any great detail on Light Rail, no surprise. And there's no doubt in my mind that when it comes to Mayor Watson, he had hoped that it would work out different with Light Rail. And that when it did come time for him to leave office, I think you have to recognize he would have wanted to point to Light Rail as a great success story. A modern, reliable, clean public transit system for decades to come, for the next century to serve Ottawa. But it just didn't work out that way. Hasn't worked out that way so far. Albert in Ottawa. You're on City News. Good morning, Albert.
Good morning, Rob.
Morning, Albert. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa?
Well, I'm liking Diane Deans.
Diane Deans, okay.
She can dot the I's, cross the T's. She's not afraid to speak up, and I think she's a penny pincher. Okay. And unfortunately, Bob Chiarelli carries a big red L on his forehead, and we go back to the McGuinty days and all the stuff that he was involved in those days. And the last thing that we need in Ottawa right now, running our city, is another Liberal. I think change is going to be good.
Diane Deans, I would just remind you, Diane Deans ran for a Liberal nomination in Ottawa Centre. She ran for a Liberal nomination in Ottawa Centre. She wanted to be part of the same government that Bob Chiarelli was a part of.
I didn't know that.
She ran against Yasser Naqvi for the nomination in Ottawa Centre. Yasser Naqvi beat her for the Liberal nomination in Ottawa Centre.
I didn't know that, but I just think Bob's had his time. He's shown his colors through the McGuinty days, and I wouldn't like to see him team up with other Liberals here in Ottawa, because we need to bury that and move on.
What's your reaction to the news that Jim Watson's not running again? Is that does that please you?
I'm glad he's given somebody else a chance. He's had a long run.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, he's had a long run, and it's good to see change. We're due for change, and we're due for change for some councillors too. So hopefully it'll turn out that we can save Ottawa some money, because the other thing that when you talk about homes and stuff like that, a lot of people may not realize, but when they go reassess all these homes in the next year or two, and their property taxes go up, and that 3% on the new reassessed tax is going to be one hell of a whack.
Oh yes.
And so,
a lot of people in Ottawa will be facing some sticker shock, I think, Albert.
Yeah, we need a penny pincher in there, and I think Diane Deans is that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Albert. Yeah, we're talking about the mayor's race. We're just a few days removed from the news that Jim Watson will not seek re-election. 3 people have already declared their intention to vie to replace him, to run in the race for mayor. Who should be the next mayor, and what's your reaction to the news that Jim Watson is not running again? Talkback Hour, 750-1310. This is City News.
Here at the Thirsty Maiden, we offer a variety of products. So everything from breakfast items, so it's breakfast sandwiches and scones, which have become a staple item here at the cafe. We have an assortment of pastries and cakes and desserts. So we're really big on our dessert bar, which a lot of people come here for. And of course, our delicious coffee beverages. So we do offer not your typical lattes, things like a chocolate banana coconut latte, cinnamon coconut, which is my favorite, and our take on even a pumpkin spice, which we add nutmeg and a dash of cayenne in just to give it a bit of a kick. When you start a business, you don't factor in all the things that could go wrong. You think anything that goes wrong, any failure, it's got to be something on your shoulders. You didn't market right, you're carrying the wrong products, you didn't price your items correctly, all the things, right? But when this pandemic began, things going through my brain were I didn't factor in a pandemic. And we were just starting to grow. We were about to blow up, and I think I spent 2 days crying, and then I shut my business down for I think a period of 2 or 3 days. And just being at home during that time, I realized this is not me. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a hard worker. I don't give up, and I'm a go-getter. And I started to think, well, I should probably just start clearing out my freezers and posting and seeing who wants to buy what. And that was sort of how I built my momentum back up. I realized that there's still a large number of people that wanted to support us and were looking for the items that I had to provide. So we started there. Then I reopened literally not even 3 or 4 days after I'd closed my doors, and then started doing curbside pickups and deliveries. Started doing the deliveries myself, free deliveries to the local community, going as far as Bell's Corners and Carp as well. And that's why we're still here. This community has really kept us going a year into the pandemic. We've had a changeover of staff a couple times now, and situations change, and when you can't offer hours and hours for your employees, you don't blame them when they have to go elsewhere. So I think that's also been one of the challenges is recruiting, training, and then they leave, and then bringing in more people and recruiting. And anybody in this industry will tell you that that's something we deal with on a regular basis, whether or not COVID's in the mix or not. But more so now, because every time there's a lockdown, there's a risk of, will we make it through? And then you lay off more staff. And again, their situations and their circumstances change.
Hello. On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa? Give me a name. You must have someone in mind. And what is your reaction to the news that Jim Watson is not running again? Are you pleased that he's not running again? Are you like, yes, Jim Watson's not running again? Or were you hoping that he would run again, and maybe that news disappoints you? Chris in Canada. Chris, good morning. You're on City News, Chris.
Good morning, Rob. As far as the city, it seems so far to the left, I'm surprised we could put anything on the table without it falling off.
Okay.
But I think Mayor Watson, like your guest earlier said, he's been pretty good at dancing in the middle when it came to count. Everyone has positives and negatives to it, but as far as that goes, I thought he did an okay job, but it is time for a change. And with the federal Conservatives rowing in circles, I think Poilievre should run the city.
Poilievre should run the city, okay. I don't think Poilievre has any interest in being mayor of Ottawa.
Yeah,
I think he may have his eyes on a bigger prize, but...
That's what I'd like. Thanks, Rob.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Thank you. Okay. Pierre Poilievre, Mayor of Ottawa, Pierre Poilievre, 750-1310, 750-1310. Mayor Jim Watson not running again. 3 people have declared their intention to be his replacement. Bob Chiarelli, Diane Deans, Catherine McKenney. Out of those 3, who do you prefer? Or do you have someone else in mind entirely? Good morning, Paul in Canada. Hi, Paul.
Good morning, Rob. How are you?
All right, great, Paul. Thank you.
Great.
Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa?
You know what? I'm going with the gentleman from before. He might not want to run, but I think Pierre Poilievre would be a fantastic choice.
Okay.
I think.
Why do you say that? Because
we need some fiscal strength here. We need someone who's got some financial teeth to him. And it was interesting, just the tweet he put out where he made kind of a biting comment, and you don't make a tweet like that unless it's, I have better answers than the guy before. So I think. Well,
I saw one tweet from Poilievre over the weekend where it was something like, pity the person who has to clean up this mess or something like that.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be, guess what? I'm Superman. I'm the guy who can do it.
Oh, okay.
Because I just don't think he sees an avenue to the top with the Conservatives for a while. So maybe this is a perfect thing. Slip into the mayor of Ottawa, clean up the LRT mess, and in 4 years, when Mr. O'Toole's out the door again, he steps back in.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know how realistic that is. But nevertheless, I see where you're coming from. So your reaction to the Jim Watson news, I'm not running again,
I think I personally believe it was 100% to do with the LRT.
You don't believe this thing that I made up my mind 3 years ago that was going to be my last election?
No, I think the LRT just drained all the energy out of him, and he sees there's really almost a no-win on this one. So I think it's just I've had enough. I'm going to cut and run, and hopefully somebody else can pick up.
Time for a new face, and if that face looks like a Mr. Poilievre, you're really cool with that.
I'm 100% behind
100%. Okay. All right. Okay. 750-1310, 750-1310. Well, Pierre Poilievre is going to be very busy this week with other duties because the Bank of Canada is renewing its mandate today. Tiff Macklem, the governor of the Bank of Canada, and the federal finance minister will talk about that. It's going to be a dual mandate by the sounds of things. It will be fighting inflation, and there'll be new language in there on the labor market, trying to achieve full employment, which we pretty much have in this country. Our big problem now is job vacancies, 1 million job vacancies. Then tomorrow, it's the fall economic update. Chrystia Freeland will deliver the fall economic update, kind of a mini budget sort of thing, a look at the financial picture. And then on Wednesday, it's the inflation rate comes out on Wednesday. So how's that for a big day for the economy? So Mr. Poilievre, as the finance critic for the official opposition, is busy this week and cannot announce his intention to run for mayor of Ottawa. But Mayor Watson is not running again. 3 others have announced they're in the race. McKenney, Deans, and Chiarelli, Bob Chiarelli. Who do you prefer out of those options, and why? Or is there another person that you would like to see in the race? There are names that are floating out there in the rumor mill, so to speak. It could reach out and grab one. Names like Vern White, the former Ottawa police chief. Names like Matthew Fleury, the Ottawa Vanier councillor. Lots of speculation that he's thinking about it and has been thinking about it for quite some time. Somebody mentioned this morning Walter Robinson, frequent guest on this show. He was, for a brief time, the chief of staff to Mayor O'Brien. I don't know how fondly he looks back on that time as this chief of staff of Mayor O'Brien. It was kind of a crazy place to be at the time. But he's been in government relations with private sector clients. He was really outstanding in his role as the head of the federal director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. I mean, smart, media savvy. He's fiscally conservative, socially liberal. Checks off a lot of boxes for some people on the kind of center right. I don't know what his intentions are, but that's, it's a name that's come up already this morning. Do you have a name? Irene. Good morning, Irene.
Good morning.
Good morning, Irene. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa?
Conservative social.
None of the above. No.
None of the above. Okay.
No, actually, myself, I think that Catherine McKenney would be, and the only reason I think she would is because she questioned, that affordable housing that the Liberal government in the city signed, where, after 10 years, like the people are going to get this subsidized rate for 10 years, and after that will be up to market.
Okay.
Remember those wonderful things? Remember those deals? But I don't think she would have a chance getting in because she's an NDP.
Right.
That's one of the things.
Okay.
But the other thing, I don't think Pierre Poilievre should run there because look what happened to Larry O'Brien. He never got any cooperation from the council or the city, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, people are going after Mayor Watson, saying he's an autocrat, he's a tough mayor, ruled with an iron fist. I mean, you either run the council or the council's going to run you. And, Larry O'Brien learned that. You're only one vote. You go in there and you if you don't have 13, 14 votes, then it doesn't matter what you try and do. You're not going to be able to enact your agenda, right?
Yeah, you need like-minded people.
Need like-minded people,
you, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And then with Diane Deans.
Deans, yeah.
Remember when she said that she was looking for the Liberal West Provincial and she was writing her thank you speech, and a reporter got her writing it. Then the reporters were not allowed around the desk anymore. She was at a council meeting and she was writing her I accept a nomination.
Well, I know she ran for a Liberal nomination. She ran against Yasser Naqvi for the Liberal nomination in Ottawa Centre. That's a long time ago, Irene. Like, you're really testing my memory. It goes back that far. So.
Well, geez, I'm from Cape Breton. We have a long memory.
All right. So you're not crazy about any of those people. What, Bob Chiarelli? What about Bob Chiarelli?
Never.
Never.
Okay. Never.
Okay.
I mean, no. I've seen him off camera.
Yeah.
And it's like Watson. When the camera is on, it's a change face and change attitude. But off camera, not impressed at all. Not impressed at all.
Okay.
And the other thing about Vern White.
Yes.
Okay. Vern White. People would like to have Vern White in there because he's trustworthy and all that. And Vern had the police officers and that respected him and all this. But to go as mayor, no, it would be a total headache for him. Like, why would you leave a good position?
Why would you leave the Senate to be mayor of Ottawa?
And the other thing is, I heard about Watson. apparently that he might be going into the Senate. So,
Well, I don't know. I asked the mayor this morning, what do you do? And he didn't mention he was going to the Senate. And the fact he can't go anywhere for a year. He's still the mayor for a year. So anyway, all right. I got to go. We're late for the news. I got you. Okay. She prefers Councillor McKenney. I'm kind of surprised to hear that. She prefers Councillor McKenney as the next mayor of Ottawa, but said she doesn't think Councillor McKenney has much of a chance. Councillor McKenney on City News today at 1 o'clock. We're talking about the race for mayor. It's halftime. Love to hear from you this morning. It's just starting. You imagine just hours after Mayor Watson said, I quit, people are already jumping into the race, and there will be more jumping into the race. This is the Rob Snow Show on City News.
One for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, December 13th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 5 degrees, in Smiths Falls, 6. And here's what's making news this hour. 1,536 new cases of COVID-19 in Ontario today. The province says one additional death has been recorded as well. Now, of these new cases, 116 are in Ottawa, 26 in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 12 additional cases in Eastern Ontario, 1 in Renfrew. Positivity rate from the over 38,000 tests has now reached 5.5%. More of the population eligible for a COVID vaccine booster today, with the province opening up to age 50 and older. Thousands tried logging on earlier this morning. That apparently crashed the website for a time. The province says you can also call or just go through your doctor or pharmacy. There are reports this morning booster shots may be available to those 18 plus, starting as soon as next week. 10 months to go and at least 3 candidates lining up to be the next mayor of Ottawa. Former Mayor Bob Chiarelli, along with current councillors Diane Dean and Catherine McKenney, say they will run for that job. More from the candidates through the day on City News. New Brunswick has signed on to the federal child care plan. That leaves Ontario as the only province not to have signed, along with 2 territories for their $10 a day deal. Canada's central bank has been told to keep the annual pace of price gains at its historic target, but also to help build up the labor market. We'll have more on this coming up for you at 11 o'clock. City News Time, 10:34. I'm Andrew Boyle. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa? Give me a name. And what was your reaction when you heard that Jim Watson's not running again? Is that news that pleases you that he's not running again, or were you hoping that he would seek a fourth term? 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. Michael in Nepean. Good morning, Michael. You're on City News.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Michael.
I liked a lot of things that Diane Deans had to say this morning.
Okay.
I particularly liked the way you stuck it to Mr. Chiarelli. I thought that was great. It seemed like you really put him in the hot seat there for a minute. Like we all remember what it was like having him for mayor. And, I really felt like when he did the whole O-Train thing, he seemed more concerned about his legacy than what was actually right for the city.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I thought, fair but tough. You try to be fair but tough. I thought I was fair and tough with both of them. You think I was tougher on Chiarelli? Do you think I was tougher on Chiarelli?
Well, I think you had more to go with on Chiarelli.
Okay. All right. Well, lots of material to work with there. He was mayor for a long time, regional chair. He was a cabinet minister.
Sure. We all remember.
Yeah, he was minister for hydro bills. I mean, that's what hurt him the most, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right. So, all right. Thank
you.
Great
job, Rob. Really love it.
Sure. But Michael, before I let you go here, who do you want to be mayor? Do you have anybody in mind? Or?
I think I'm going to vote for Diane Deans.
Going to vote for Diane Deans. Okay. All right.
I like what she had to say.
Like what she had to say. Okay. There you go, Diane Deans. I got you one vote this morning. And that's it. Nobody wants to talk this morning on a Monday morning about the mayor's. Is it that dull and boring? Running for mayor of Ottawa? Maybe we should bring Larry back. He could spice things up for us, okay? Never a dull moment when Larry O'Brien was running for mayor, that's for sure. But we have three others who have announced their intention. They want the big job, okay? McKenney, Deans, Bob Chiarelli. Who do you prefer out of those three, or would you like to see somebody else? As I mentioned, there are lots of names floating out there. Vern White, okay? Vern White, the former Ottawa police chief. Matthew Fleury, Ottawa Vanier councillor. Lots of speculation that he's thinking about. I mentioned Walter Robinson. Somebody mentioned Walter Robinson this morning. Vern White, I mean, his name comes up whenever there's an election, it seems. In the context, anyway, of a run for mayor. Now, I with Vern, I kind of have a soft spot for the guy because he's a Cape Bretoner. Former police chief of Ottawa, appointed to the Senate by Stephen Harper. And, I've heard only, how would I call it? Like third-hand accounts that, I don't know if he's crazy about being a senator. But Ottawa Mayor Vern White, what do you think of that? Does it have a nice ring to it? Could you go for that? Another name, Carol Ann Meehan. That name has come up. I did just a Twitter poll on my Twitter feed, and that name came up repeatedly. Her name mentioned on social media. She had a rough first year as a city councillor. She even admitted that to me on this show. Yeah, my first year, I was just finding my footing there at city council. But I think she has found her footing now. And look, when it comes to name recognition, all of those evenings anchoring the supper hour news, I don't know if anyone would come close aside from Jim Watson, who would have better name recognition, which, I mean, name recognition goes a long way in municipal politics. It may be the most important factor of all in municipal politics. Who are you? So who do you want as the next mayor of Ottawa? What's your reaction to the news? Jim Watson's not running again. First time I've really had a chance to poll you on this. John in Gloucester. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Morning, John. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa, John?
Pierre Poilievre.
Pierre Poilievre. People keep bringing him up. Why do you say that, sir? What is it?
He's a conservative.
He's
need
conservative.
A change of liberal.
We need change from the Liberals. Okay.
City.
All right. And you think Pierre is in the best position to do that? He's kind of got another job now. He was just elected like a couple of months ago, September.
Yes, but if he runs for mayor, straightens out this city, maybe he can go back into federal politics and straighten out the country.
Okay, all right. But start by straightening out the city of Ottawa, you're saying. Okay?
Yep.
All right, okay. Just as, it's interesting, just as kind of post-Trudeau, people see Mark Carney as like the next big thing. You go, where can we fit in Mark Carney? Can we plug in Mark Carney somewhere? People see Poilievre as like, he could be the next great thing. Put Poilievre in there. Need a new conservative leader? Poilievre should be the conservative. Need a new prime minister? Poilievre should be the prime minister. Need a new mayor? Poilievre. What Poilievre? Holy cow. 750-1310. Mike in Osgood. Good morning, Mike.
How are you?
I'm good, Mike. Thank you. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa?
Well, I think you should run.
I don't think so. It's not happening.
No, well, what about Derek Fage?
Derek Fage? Okay, Derek Fage, Rogers Television. Not a bad choice.
No, love your show. You're doing a good job.
All right. Now, but do you have someone in mind, though, Mike? If it's not me, do you have someone in mind?
Well, I sort of agree with the people that are talking about Pierre Poilievre.
Right. Okay. What's your reaction to the news that Jim Watson isn't running again? Does that put a smile on your face, for example?
No, he did what he had to do. Yeah,
Okay.
I wish he was sort of running again, for sure.
You do? Okay. That's interesting.
He reminded me of a Harper. Just keep it nice and calm. Don't say too much and carry on.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Very interesting comments, sir. Thank you. Yeah, it's not going to be. Why would I want a job where I'd have to work like 7 days a week, 12 hours a day? Why would I want that? I work 3 hours a day, Monday to Friday right now. Why would I want?
And even that's like a lot for you. So.
And David does most of the work.
Yeah, that's true.
So, James in Barhaven. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, James. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa, in your opinion?
I don't really have a candidate in mind.
Okay.
I'm not that impressed with the people who've thrown their hats into the ring so far.
Okay.
But I think the problem is that it's such a nasty job that people of good character don't want to take it.
Well, it's getting nastier with social media.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Jim Watson announces that he's not running again, and within 30 seconds, people are already basically posting good riddance on social media. Right?
Yeah, isn't that time? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, people disagree with a lot that he did. I certainly do, but on the other hand, it's not for lack of effort.
Right.
But the thing is, there's not much point in talking about Poilievre or Vern White because they're not going to run. They have jobs that they're good at and happy at, and I think Poilievre is more likely to continue climbing the ladder within the Fed rather than changing track at this point.
Yeah.
When it comes to Jim Watson, I think it was pretty obvious he wasn't going to run again because even if he did win, I think his showing would have been embarrassingly poor because of the LRT.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, he says he made up his mind 3 years ago that he wasn't going to run again. That light rail had nothing to do with it. So.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
You don't believe that? Okay.
I don't believe that for 1 second. No.
Okay.
I think his showing would have been an embarrassment, and even if he did win, chances are he would. But if he did, it would only be because of a lack of good competition.
Okay.
And that, of course, is the basic problem. The weakness of democracy is that it provides for everything except there's no guarantee of a good slate of candidates at any given moment.
Okay, but nobody comes to mind right now. Like when McKenney, Dean, Shirelli, none of them really do it for you.
Not really. I think Caroline Meehan would be good.
Caroline Meehan, okay. All right.
Doesn't have the experience yet. It's too early for her.
Okay.
Maybe a term from now.
Okay. All right, James, thank you. I'm going to take one more call before we stop and do the final quarter. Ralph Osgood. Ralph, good morning. You're on City News.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ralph, who should be the next mayor of Ottawa?
Well, I don't know that. None of the three that are currently have their names put forward.
Yes.
But I wanted to comment more on why Watson decided not to run at this or run in the future.
He says he made up his mind 3 years ago.
Well, I don't believe that.
You don't believe that? Okay.
I think it's one of two things. One, this inquiry into LRT, his name is going to come up not a very pleasant light, I would think.
Okay.
And the other reason is I think the feds are going to appoint him to something.
Oh, that he might have something lined up already.
And I'm sure he's been told he's a candidate for.
Whatever. We'll take care of you. A diplomatic posting. You can be the CEO of whatever, the Mint or something like that. Whatever,
yes.
Right? Who knows? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
None of the candidates, getting back to the original one, none of the candidates so far, I have no interest in voting for any one of them.
All right. Anybody come to mind for you?
No, not really.
Not really. Okay.
I mean, heck, if you want to go back in time, how about the guy that runs a car dealership,
Jim Durrell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't think Jim Durrell's coming back to run for mayor.
No, I wouldn't think so
He's a pretty busy
either.
guy, and he ran the Senators, and he ran.
He would have the experience.
He has lots of experience. He is the chair of Hydro Ottawa now. He's the chair of the board of Hydro Ottawa. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ralph. Very interesting comments. Not a lot of people are buying this line. I made up my mind not to run again 3 years ago. A lot of people draw a straight line from point A to point B. Point A being the light rail train that's stuck in the station. Point B being Jim Watson's political future. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa? Your reaction to the news Jim Watson's not running again. Be back right after this at 750-1310. 3 lines available. 750-1310. Rob Snow Show. City News.
We just took over this business about a few weeks prior to the pandemic, but we've been loving the community, the people, very friendly. But it's been very difficult starting up a new business, just the time that we did, but I'm sure it's the same everywhere. We did take a broken business, which doesn't help us, but we thought we believe in what we do. We're very passionate about food, and we just really wanted to share the Iraqi culture through our food. All our recipes are homemade, so this is very unique. Usually you hear restaurants, shops, it's all frozen food or prepared food. So nothing here is prepared, everything is homemade. We get our meat and produce from a local farm. So supporting local is the way to go. We are supporting all the way. And our meat are actually marinated the day of, so it's as fresh as can be. Quality ingredients, and everything is made from scratch. I get a lot of people when they come in, they say it tastes like Middle Eastern, like back home. So for you to have been to Iraq and had the food there, you can really compare and see the similarity. We do like to focus on healthy. So our recipes, not only the homemade, again, everything is from scratch, but we have from combos and to small sandwiches. Our one of our favorites and very popular is the chicken salad and the beef salad. So now you're getting all the protein and all these amazing ingredients that we all need. During this time, I find a lot of people are sitting at home and not enough movement. So to come here and get something healthy other than go elsewhere and just put, what's not so good for our bodies, makes a huge difference. So we have shawarma sandwiches, combos. I mean, if you're looking for a meal to feed your family, I would highly recommend the family platter. It comes literally with everything, with potatoes, with rice, with chicken, with beef. And we don't charge extra for mix. I know a lot of places do. Here we just add everything to your platter. And lots of healthy choices for sure. We're very passionate about food. And for our small family business, it's been good. Like I said, it's a little struggle, but we are not a chained restaurant.
On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, Rob Snow Show continues.
Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa? Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa? And what's your reaction to the news that Jim Watson's not running for re-election? Are you pleased that he's not running again, or were you hoping that he would run again? Joyce in Ottawa. Joyce, good morning. You're on City News.
Hi, Rob.
Hi, Joyce.
Person comes to mind is you, but if...
Not happening. Not happening.
If you wouldn't take it, someone like-minded...
Someone like-minded. Someone like me.
No,
Okay.
someone like you.
Yeah.
Like I recall, I don't know if you remember, Sharon used to call you often. I haven't heard from her.
Sharon in Bell's
lately.
Corners. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
She was a Harper supporter.
Yes, she was. Yeah.
And but she's the type of person I would vote for her in a.
Oh, you would? Okay. All right.
In a second, because she's intelligent.
Yeah.
She's well spoken. And she seems to, like, I'd vote for her. She's, I think, a born leader. So there are people out there.
Right.
There are people out there. I know it takes a lot of courage and probably a lot of money to run.
According to my friend Pat Aguccione, who's on with me from time to time, and he ran just in a by-election. I mean, it's $500,000 or so. You'd have to raise $500,000 to run for mayor of Ottawa.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money, right?
It's a shame, really, because I know there are people out there. Holy mackerel! I just wish.
Okay.
Because really, none of the above.
Okay, so you don't like any of the candidates who've declared so far?
No.
All right.
No.
Okay, fair
No.
enough. What was your reaction when you heard Jim Watson wasn't running again? I mean,
I was kind of glad. I wish
you were
him
kind of
well.
glad. Okay, fair enough.
I wish him well, but
Yes,
he's
okay.
had his turn, and we saw what he.
Yeah. Okay.
The reaction.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So.
All right, Joyce. Thank you. Thank you,
You're
Joyce.
welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay. There's the line. Rosemary in Canada. Rosemary.
Oh, hi, Rob.
Hi, Rosemary.
Hi.
Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa?
Well, I just love Professor Ian Lee.
Professor Ian Lee. You know what? I'm going to ask him tomorrow if he's...
Yeah, he's always on Tuesday morning. I so look forward
Tuesday
to
morning
your
at
interviews
9:30.
with him.
Yep.
And he's just such a common sense person.
He's
and he's
very
always
in tune.
commented on municipal politics.
He loves to comment on everything.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's true.
Professor Ian Lee. Okay, I'll run that by. I'll tell her he's got one vote. One
Rosemary
campaign.
from Canada.
Rosemary in Canada, your first campaign volunteer. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, but Professor Ian Lee. Now, when you heard that Mayor Watson wasn't running again, what did you think of that?
Well, I was surprised, and I would have voted for Mayor Watson because I think he's a steady hand, and he's a born politician. So I can't see him stepping away from politics altogether.
All right. Okay.
I liked him as our mayor, and I don't think any of the three who have stepped forward, I wouldn't vote for any of them.
All right, Rosemary. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Yep. Okay. All right. I bet you Professor Lee does get asked from time to time if he's interested in public office. Pam in Ottawa. Pam, good morning.
I agree with Rosemary. I was calling for Ian Lee.
Ian Lee. Okay. Ian Lee.
You asked
Professor
him a few
Ian.
months ago, and he didn't say no.
Did I ask him?
Yeah,
him?
you
I did.
When,
Okay.
when Shirelli announced it, he said he prefers somebody younger that was fiscally responsible, but he didn't say no.
Okay. All right. I'll have to ask him tomorrow again then. I'll ask him tomorrow again. What was your reaction when you heard that Jim Watson wasn't running again?
Glad. I think he's done.
You think he's done? You think he's done? Okay. He says he made up his mind 3 years ago that he wasn't going to run again. Do you...
Nope.
You don't believe that? No?
No, not at all.
Not at all. Okay. A lot of people are having a hard time believing that, but that's his story and he's sticking to it, Pam, but you're not buying it, eh?
Nope.
All right. Okay. Thank you. David in the South End. David.
Yeah. Hi, Rob. So,
who should be the next mayor?
Well, from what I heard so far, I think Diane Deans, and I haven't heard the other platforms, but I want to get to the bottom of the LRT. I think Mayor Watson is running because as soon as the province started that investigation, he's got something to hide. I don't know if the Trudeau government's involved in this too,
right?
With their love with SNC-Lavalin, but I'd like to get to the bottom in like 10 days. This has to be passed.
Right. Well, the mayor says he made up his mind 3 years ago that he wasn't running.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
at all.
Okay.
Nope.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Diane Deans, and the idea that Mayor Watson's not running again, does that please you?
No, that pleases me. I think, 3 terms, 4 terms. No, I think there should be limits in whether it's federal or provincial, 2 terms. That's it.
You believe in term limits?
There's no corruption. There's no corruption or anything. They can't get, used to the office too much.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. He likes term limits. Some people do like term limits. Sean in Ottawa. Sean.
Hey, good morning.
Hi, Sean. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa, Sean?
Well, if it was somebody from the council, I would go with Tim Tierney. But reaching outside of that, I would look at somebody like Cameron Love, who runs the hospital.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You can run a hospital. You can run a city, I think.
Yeah, big pay cut.
There's a lot of big pay cut. There's a lot of equivalencies there.
Yeah, big pay cut. What does the mayor make? 200, 300,000? You can look that up, David. Yeah, maybe 200 and some thousand. And what does the CEO of the Ottawa Hospital make? Probably 700 or something like that. So, yeah.
Jim is making 196.2.
196.2. Okay, yeah. Cameron Love is making a lot more than that as CEO of the hospital.
For sure.
But, all right, Sean. Now, the idea that Jim is not running again, Jim Watson's not running again, does that make you happy, or are you sad to see him go? Or?
Yeah, sad to see him go. I think he's done a great job, but, every politician has a few road bumps along the way, but he does keep a pretty steady, even keel on things. And,
okay, all right.
Pre-COVID, he was a huge part of all the community events that happened.
Oh, yes.
You could always count on him being there and having time.
He's so busy, he would go to so many events they had to have 2 deputy mayors. One wasn't enough to replace him because he went to so many events. Yeah, that's true. Sean, did you find out that number, how much the CEO of the Ottawa Hospital makes?
474,000.
Oh, I thought it'd be even more than that. Okay, interesting. Max in Orleans. Max, good morning.
Hi.
Hi, Max. Who should be the next mayor of Ottawa, in your opinion?
Carol-Ann Meehan.
Carol-Ann Meehan. Okay.
Has she put her name in?
No, hasn't put her name in. No.
I think these days with all the quote unquote celebrity, in any kind of levels of politics, they always seem to draw people out to vote, and I think she's always been a good challenger of the. I don't know if she's loved enough within the council, but I think she'd be a good. She always has a head on her shoulders.
Okay. You're not the first. You're not the first to bring her name up. Yep.
No. Okay. What do you think about that?
I think she may need a little more experience yet around the council table. This is her first term, right? So
I just find her name is recognizable.
Well, yeah, it's very recognizable. That goes a long way. That goes a long way in municipal politics. Now, when you heard that Jim Watson isn't running again, what did you think about that? Please?
I think there was pressure for him to step down, but I think he would have still been up to the job.
Yeah. Okay, Max. Thank you. I want to fit in one more call. It's Mo in Canada. Good morning, Mo.
Morning, Rob.
Who should be the next mayor, Mo?
I think none of the above for
None of the
guys.
above. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Do you know, we should try who will vote for Melnick.
Melnick. Melnick.
You like that one, eh?
Yeah, I don't like that one. No, I don't like that. No.
Can you imagine if he puts his name on?
Yeah. I don't think so. Maybe he can run for mayor of Barbados or something, wherever he's from there.
Actually, he can run the mayor of all his horse racing.
Yeah. When you heard that the mayor wasn't running again, Jim Watson, what did you think, Mo?
I thought something had to do with LRT.
With
That's
LRT.
What come to my something he'd find out.
Oh, I see. Okay, Mo, thank you. Thank you for all your calls. It picked up there in the late going, as it sometimes does. It'll be a long race. We'll engage in it from time to time. Our interview with Mayor Watson comes up at 11:30 this morning here on the Rob Snow Show. Jeffrey Johnson from the Kingston Whig Standard. We focus on UK politics. What's wrong with Boris? Boris is in trouble in the UK. We'll talk about it coming up next here on City News.
WW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 101.1 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number 1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Monday, December 13th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Jim Watson may have announced he will not seek another term, but he says there is still plenty of work to do over the next 10 months or so. That's what's left in this term of council. Watson tells the Rob Snow Show there are a number of projects he has his eye on.
Well, I want to make sure that shovels get in the ground for the library. That's our biggest civic-funded project. Obviously, continuation of Phase 2 construction. And also, even though it's not a city project, it has great ramifications, is the Civic Hospital.
The full interview with Jim Watson coming up on the Rob Snow Show at 11:30 this morning. Also on the show earlier today, candidate and former Mayor Bob Chiarelli. He tells that show that he's looking forward to running against all the candidates who have been named so far, including Catherine McKenney and Diane Deans.
I respect their credentials. And it's really beneficial for the city to have credible candidates with experience in the race.
Now, the election is not until next October. City News Time, 11:02, and the province is reporting an additional 1,536 COVID cases today, along with one more death. Ottawa has 116 of those new cases. There are 26 more in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 12 in Eastern Ontario's health unit, and one new case in Renfrew. 5.5% of the over 38,000 tests that were done for these numbers came back positive. The federal government has signed a child care deal with New Brunswick now, leaving just Ontario and 2 territories, the only jurisdictions in the country that have not signed on for $10 a day child care. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau stressed the importance of this plan.
Bottom line is we're going to make life more affordable. We're going to grow the economy by allowing more parents, particularly moms, to rejoin the workforce. And we're going to give kids the best possible start as they begin their schooling.
Now, Ontario is still in negotiations with the federal government, the province claiming it needs more money than its population share of the $30 billion 5-year plan from the federal government. Nunavut and Northwest Territories are the other jurisdictions that so far do not have a deal. City News Time, 11:03. Canada's central bank has been told keep the annual pace of price gains at its historic target, but also help build up the labor market. Since 1991, the Bank of Canada targeted an annual inflation rate between 1% and 3%, and often landing right in the middle at 2%. That range remains at the center of the renewed inflation targeting agreement it has with the federal government. The OPP is warning of several scams at this time of year, especially to be watching for. The Stormont Dundas Glengarry Detachment says they're warning of these dozen in particular, and they range from counterfeit merchandise to crypto investments, gift cards, and romance scams. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's a pillar of community opinion.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
Every Monday morning, Jeffrey Johnston joins us from the Kingston Whig Standard. He is an international affairs columnist for the great Kingston Whig Standard newspaper. Morning, Jeffrey, and welcome back.
Good morning, Rob.
And we're throwing the darts at the dartboard today, and we are hitting the UK, where Boris Johnson is in all kinds of problems. Now, I have to remember, Boris Johnson, former mayor of London, and took over the Conservative Party and led it to a big, huge majority government, and got Brexit done, and things were going along pretty well. COVID hit, vaccine program that was largely considered a success, I think, for the most part. Wouldn't you agree, Jeffrey? The vaccination program in the United Kingdom, largely considered a success.
Early on it was, yeah.
Early on. They had really ramped up domestic manufacturing of their vaccine. The AstraZeneca vaccine was kind of a made in the UK vaccine. And whatever you think of Brexit, he was elected to get Brexit done. They got Brexit done. So things were going well. It's not going well now. Now their polling numbers, the Conservative government under Johnson, their polling numbers in the UK are way down. There have been a series of scandals, the sleaze, hypocrisy, these kinds of things. And now, Boris Johnson is calling in the army to help out with the booster shot campaign. And he's called Omicron a tidal wave. The UK is going to be hit by a tidal wave of Omicron. What do you think about how things have turned in the UK here for the Johnson government?
Well, I'll start by saying that Boris Johnson is a very gifted campaigner. The guy's a really good communicator, and he's able to come up with these slogans. As they say, he can always come up with, 3-word slogan and then sell it, and he's really, really good at that. But he's got a lot going against him right now. So you mentioned Brexit and COVID. So these are the two biggest things. Brexit is not as advertised. A lot of people thought it was going to be, a resurgence of, the British Empire or whatever, and it turned out that it limited labor mobility and trade, and that is really coming back to hurt the UK. So they've had, for example, shortages of lorry drivers. That's what we call them, transport drivers. And so that's led to supply chain problems, and then they've had to issue special visas for European workers to come in and be lorry drivers, which is sort of the opposite of what Brexit was about. And they were in October, they were warning that there were going to be shortages of holiday turkeys at Christmas time because there weren't enough foreign workers to work on of the farms. And so then again, they had to issue special visas for European workers to come in and do those jobs. And then the Office of Budget Responsibility put out a report earlier this fall that said that ultimately, Brexit will do more long-term damage to the British economy than COVID. Brexit will reduce GDP, gross domestic product, by 4%. The COVID pandemic will reduce it by 2%. So you got problems there. And then you just mentioned the bringing in of the army, because they got it. Boris Johnson last night on Sunday night UK time, he did this big national address from Number 10 because Omicron is really serious, and I guess
we have a clip of this. We have a clip of this, Jeffrey. Just hold on. We're going to play a quick clip. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
No one should be in any doubt. There is a tidal wave of Omicron coming, and I'm afraid it is now clear that 2 doses of vaccine are simply not enough to give the level of protection we all need. But the good news is that our scientists are confident that with a 3rd dose, a booster dose, we can all bring our level of protection back up. I know there will be some people watching who will be asking whether Omicron is less severe than previous variants, and whether we really need to go out and get that booster. And the answer is yes, we do. Do not make the mistake of thinking Omicron can't hurt you, can't make you and your loved ones seriously ill. We've already seen hospitalizations doubling in a week in South Africa, and we have patients with Omicron in hospital here in the UK right now.
Okay, tidal wave of Omicron. Sorry, Jeffrey, go ahead, Jeffrey. Yep.
And everything he just said there is true, and I agree with everything he just said. In fact, Omicron is doubling every 2 to 3 days, and epidemiologists are warning, do not be deceived by all those reports that it's milder, because if it's doubling every 2 to 3 days, that means the hospitals are going to fill up really quickly. So even if the cases are half as mild, if it's doubling every 2 to 3 days, you're going to be back where you started in 2 to 3 days. And long term, we don't have enough data on this, so we don't know if the death rate is still going to be as high as with Delta. We just don't know. So everybody needs to get boosted. Right. Johnson has set a goal of boosting 1 million people a day for the rest of the year. They want to get all adults over the age of 18 boosted by the end of the year. The original plan...
I've heard that. I heard BBC News. I listened to one of the BBC newscasts early this morning. They've already done 20 million booster shots in the UK.
Yeah, and
$20 million.
They need to get out ahead of it because Johnson announced this morning that they've had their first death from Omicron.
That's right, as well, yes. Somebody has died from Omicron.
So it is serious, and we know it's going to be serious. So he had to bring in the military to, I think he's bringing in, I've forgotten the number, but anyways, they're trying to use the military to get more vaccines into arms. He's also giving more money to Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland to ramp up theirs. And then on top of that, they have to bring in these new COVID regulations, and this is leading to... This
is the Plan B,
rebellion.
Right? Plan B. This is Plan B.
They're talking about.
I mean, look, when it comes to politicians, you just have to know, Plan B is never going to be popular. Right? Never going to be popular to go, all right, we screwed up. Because it means you screwed up Plan A, right? So now they have to bring in new restrictions or reimpose old restrictions, and they want to bring in COVID certificates or passports like we have, right?
Yeah.
So there's I wouldn't call it an all-out rebellion, a mini rebellion. There's like 70, 75 conservative MPs who are saying, I want nothing to do with it. But there you have to remember, there are like 360 conservative MPs. So,
that will be the largest number of his own MPs voting against any of these measures.
Yeah,
and he's going to have to rely on the Labour Party because they're in line with this COVID vaccine or passport system. And that's not a good look for Johnson when you have that. And then, as you mentioned earlier, there was all this sleaze. So there's this guy, Owen Patterson, an MP. Now they're having a by-election because of his alleged corruption. There's the rules in the UK that a sitting MP can't be involved in taking paid work, and he was allegedly lobbying on behalf of at least two companies.
Yeah, not only was he paid, I mean, he was making big money, like 100,000 British pounds, 100,000 British pounds. And Johnson defended him. Johnson defended him.
He stepped down. Now, we should note that Mr. Patterson claims that he's still innocent, but there was a cross-party Commons committee that looked at the issue and said that, his behavior was egregious and he brought Parliament into disrepute. So, yeah, you're right. That is very sleazy. And then you add on top of all of that, all of these revelations about these parties that took place in December 2020 in government departments and at number 10 Downing Street. And the latest one was that Boris Johnson himself was involved in some holiday trivia quiz thing. They said he was doing it remotely, but insiders are saying that actually there were groups of 6 people sitting at different tables in number 10 playing these games at the same time that people in the UK were locked down, and actually charges were being laid against people for having house parties. And on the same token, you've got Johnson and his people participating in the things that people are being charged for, which is a really bad look.
The reason I find this so interesting is because we know that the Canadian Conservative Party, they were looking at the Johnson victory and how he was able to orchestrate this victory by wooing, working class voters and unionized voters and really beating up labor. I'm wondering what's the secret formula there and how can we replicate that in Canada? And it had been working. But now there's this by-election to replace this Patterson guy. That's going to be on Thursday. And you know the way it goes with by-elections. It can so often be a protest vote anyway, right, Jeffrey? The British media is calling this Thursday by-election. It's a referendum on Johnson's leadership. It's a referendum on his leadership. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens because it looked like he had the magic touch there for a while, but now, I mean, the polls are showing that if the election was today in the UK, they get creamed.
And he's got bigger problems than just the electorate. He's got the Conservative Party to contend with because, just to be honest, to be frank, it's a snake pit. And once they turn on you, they really turn on you. And there are a lot of different factions within that party. So you've got the hard Brexiteers, and then you have and they're not happy with the way things are going. And then you have the internationalists, and they're, very concerned that the UK has slashed its foreign aid and international development aid. And then there are the Johnson MPs, the people who were basically elected on his coattails, are concerned that they don't really have anything to show for, their years in power. They really haven't got much for their ridings, and they're worried about that. So BBC ran an interesting story that they had all these behind-the-scenes comments. Now, nobody would go on the record, but they were talking to government ministers and prominent MPs, and nobody is happy with Johnson. And many of them are calling for him to fire the entire staff within the government. And then on top of that, earlier this year, they had this pandemic inquiry in the UK, and it was a Commons committee. And Dominic Cummings, Boris Johnson's former top advisor, was scathing in his comments about the Johnson government and about the Prime Minister himself, saying that, they didn't take the pandemic seriously in the beginning, that they wanted to move towards herd immunity, and they just wanted to infect a lot of people. Cummings said that, even though he was in a top position, he was too afraid to even speak out because then you would be totally marginalized. And this raised questions about should there be more institutionalized ways to express dissent, because you can't just leave it to powerful individuals, because as Dominic Cummings said, groupthink takes over. And the UK in Europe has suffered worse than many of the other countries in Europe from the coronavirus, and you can put part of that down to that strategy by the Boris Johnson government to pursue this herd immunity. So Mr. Johnson has a lot to answer for. And so with Brexit not going well right now, and the Omicron surging, he's in for a big fight within his own party. And if the Conservatives coalesce around one or two leadership challenges, then Johnson is in big trouble.
All right. Interesting stuff. Thank you, Jeffrey, for this week.
Thank you, Rob.
Speak soon. Jeffrey Johnson writes about international affairs for the Kingston Whig Standard. David Sally writes about local business issues for the Ottawa Business Journal. And he is standing by. We're going to talk about a new proposal. Imagine where Nordstrom is right now for the Rideau Center. Imagine a 21-story apartment building right there. Okay? They can't slap them up fast enough. We'll talk about that when we come back with David Sally. From the OBJ, this is City News.
It was devastating, and it's devastating to all small business, but not knowing where it was going to go. But then the renovation market, as people stayed home, took off like wildfire. And for us, yes, we're very lucky, very fortunate that we were able to turn things around. I think a lot of it had to do with our internet presence as well, that I was, kept working on over years, and then it kind of took off. So that was very positive. But now, no, people are staying at home. We're renovating different markets, whether it's a kitchen or a backyard or your fireplace. They want to cozy things up. So yes, things are extremely busy right now. Right now it's fireplaces, and I think with the snowbirds, a lot of those clients have existing wood fireplaces, so they're looking at inserts. So they want to convert the wood to gas. They don't want to deal with the wood part of it, but they want it clean and easy and efficient, and that's been a major increase in our business. The cottage and chalet market has really increased, absolutely. We see that people, that's their staycation now, is either the backyard or their cottage with their close bubble of family. So there's no question that we've seen a big increase in that area as well. I've seen a change in the backyard because now the staycation, from my past being in the pool business, one of our great clients was in the other day, and he's in the pool business. He's booking for 2022. For in-ground pools, okay? So I think what's happened now is that's brought everybody back home, and I think maybe down the road, maybe 3, 4, 5 years from now, we're still gonna see people spending time in their backyards and staying home more. The barbecue area, really, we call it the backyard. So you walk out of your house into a barbecue, and it kind of looks like that with the fencing and the sky and things like that. So that is just our fun room. It's just, there's a lot of cool gadgets there that has to do with dealing with charcoal and wood pellet barbecues. To go online, you're going to find, you just Google, romantic fireplaces will come up. The one nice thing about our work is that when the Google reviews and the Google pictures are phenomenal. We're uploading stuff every day. I have at least 1,000 jobs, real jobs that you can take a look at, either on the Google pictures on the drive, or if you go to our website at romanticfireplaces.com and click on Our Work. It's where we used to load lots of them up, but there's lots of pictures there too. But the great thing about that is they're real. There's testimonials there about people talking about our team. And our team here is unique to everybody else. It's two small teams, but these fellas work for me. They're our guys. So when they go into your home, they care as much about your house as you do.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Guys, welcome back. David Sally from the Ottawa Business Journal. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, it's great
How
to hear
you?
from you. I'm great. It's great to hear from you again. The owner of the Rideau Centre wants to add a residential tower. It looks like they, according to this artist's rendering, it looks like they just want to kind of slap it right on top of the Rideau Centre. Explain to us what's going on here. What could go on here? What's happening?
Yeah, Rebel, that's pretty much what they're doing. They are, so the Cadillac Fairview, the owners of the Rideau Centre, they want to build a 21-story apartment tower at 70 Nicholas Street. So that's on the southwest corner of the Rideau Centre, just right near the Mackenzie King Bridge and Nordstrom there, where everybody comes in off the bus, etc. I mean, and what's there right now? It's a heritage building known as the City Registry Office. It was built in 1874. So the plan is to actually relocate that building because it's a heritage structure. They're not going to tear it down. They're going to keep it just located a bit, move it a bit, I think something like 40 feet or something like that farther north, and integrate it into what's going to be a ground floor retail component, sort of along Nicholas Street for this new building.
All right.
Which is, if you see the renderings, it's, it's certainly a fairly impressive looking apartment tower, and so the plan is to have 280 apartment suites, mix of 1 and 2 bedrooms.
Apartments. Just point out, not condos, rentals. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
absolutely. And 2,500 or so square feet of ground floor retail space, and there will be a pedestrian walkway that will enclose that will connect this building to the shopping center.
Right.
Which of course makes sense.
So if I lived in this apartment building,
yeah,
I could go to the food court every day, and I'd never have to even go outside.
But Rob, you could wear.
I could wear my pajamas to the food court.
To the food court in February if you wanted to. Absolutely. go crazy there, Rob. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's totally. That would be.
I would become such a recluse. I would basically live in my apartment and at the Rideau Centre. I would never leave. Hey, I would just call up the different shops of the Rideau Centre. I need that delivered. Where do you live? On the 5th floor.
There you go. What more could you want?
All right.
And of course, when it comes to parking, there will be a 2-level underground parking garage with 102 spaces.
Right.
Access via Nicholas Street, and it would be a separate lot from the main Rideau Centre parking garage, so it would only be only residents of the building would be able to park there, Rob. So if you're anybody trying to, say, the lot's full, and you go sneak over there, no, that's.
I think I'd be trying to sublet my parking spot.
There you go.
All right, that's a cool one. Okay, we'll see where that goes. I don't know. Especially there's so much transit near there. Like, my goodness, why do we need 100 more parking spaces right there? I don't know. And moving Like, you're going to move that heritage? That's one of the oldest buildings in Ottawa. You really think they're going to let you just move it up the street? I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen to make that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is, you know how these things are. This is a proposal, very early stages, and so we'll see what happens. As you know, these things often these plans are often modified dramatically by the time they actually get shovels in the ground. So we'll see.
Okay, so we only have about 2 minutes left, but tell me about this startup. Is it called Gadget? Is that the name of it? Gadget? Yeah.
Gadget.
And it's raised $8.5 million in a venture capital deal. So tell us.
$8.5 million. It was in stealth mode and came out with a bang. I mean, this is the way to doing that to kind of make your to have your coming out party. What better than $8.5 million in funding from Sequoia Capital, Bessemer Venture Partners, a couple of U.S. firms, and the interesting thing about this is it's 2 ex-Shopify employees, Harry Brundage and Mohammed Hashemi, and they're basically making software that helps kind of fast-track the app development process. So all kinds of stuff that normally you have to do every single time you develop a new app, whether it's various software stacks, whether it's making a search widget or tools that allow apps to interact with other apps. All that stuff is sort of boilerplate. And they've basically taken that boilerplate, built it into a platform, and they think that this is going to really help accelerate the process. Like, take something that normally would take weeks, cut that down to hours, let the coding wizards do what they do best, which is create really cool apps. And these guys are part of what they like to call the emerging Shopify mafia. They want to kind of be that next generation Shopify grad, Shopify alumni who kind of go off, start their own companies the way Nortel alumni started that great generation of hardware companies, over 20 years ago. And so we'll see how they make out and whether they inspire another generation, another flood of startups here, Rob.
Yeah, it's very cool. It reminds me a lot of Newbridge did so well, and Terry Matthews used to have that kind of Newbridge affiliate network, and success breeds success, right? So Shopify's incredible success will only, I think, create a whole new level of other tech entrepreneurs doing some really exciting things in Ottawa. So
absolutely, Rob. We can only hope so.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, David. We'll speak soon.
All right, Rob.
Yep, great stuff. David Sally from the Ottawa Business Journal. This is the Rob Snow Show, and coming up right after the news, my interview with Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson. This is City News.
news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
This is Monday, the 13th of December. Good morning. I'm Jason White. Right now in Ottawa, mostly cloudy, 6 degrees. It's 7 in Smiths Falls. Here's what's making news this hour. Feels like municipal campaign season has already kicked off in Ottawa. Within hours of Jim Watson's announcement on Friday, he will not seek a fourth consecutive term. 2 councillors threw their hats into the ring. Former Mayor and Regional Chair Bob Chiarelli is also in the running. He and Gloucester Southgate Councillor Diane Deans talked with Rob Snow this morning. Somerset Ward's Catherine McKenney will be a guest coming up on the Sam LaPrade Show this afternoon. People 50 and older in Ontario are now eligible for their COVID-19 booster shots. It appears the online provincial booking portal got so busy at one point it crashed this morning. You can also get your booster through your local pharmacy. An employee of local nursing home has COVID-19. The staff member at the Gary J. Armstrong home in Ottawa has tested positive. Ottawa Public Health says proper testing is being done at the home. They've also put precautions in place. The last outbreak at the Gary J. Armstrong ended in June. The OPP warning of several scams at this time of year. The Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry Detachment warning of 12 scams in particular. 12, including things like counterfeit merchandise, cryptocurrency, gift cards, and romance scams. A full list of the scams and ways to protect yourself at ottawa.citynews.ca. City News time 11:32. I'm Jason White. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Strong voice.
Strong opinions.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Well, we've all had some time to take in and absorb the news that Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson will not seek another term. He made the announcement on Friday. And within hours of that news, several candidates were out there declaring their own intention to seek the office. But for the first time in a long time, Jim Watson's name will not be on a ballot in an election. And Jim Watson joins me this morning on City News. Good morning.
Good morning, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's a great pleasure, Mr. Mayor. In your letter announcing your intention to leave municipal politics, you say you made the choice while you were waiting to see the results of the last election, which you won with 70% of the vote. You wrote that you knew at that time that that was going to be your last election because you're turning 60 and you want to have one more career. Now, you've admitted that this job, Mayor of Ottawa, has been your life. What other careers are you considering?
Well, that's a very good question. At this point, I don't know because, as you know, it's a little difficult to start looking for another job when you're mayor of the nation's capital. But I think this is obviously, I can't think of a better job than being mayor of our nation's capital. I've enjoyed almost, as I said in my letter, almost every hour of every day. But I'm too young, I think, to retire, have lots of energy, good health, and so on. I'd like to keep busy. I would be bored to death sitting at home and just listening to 1310. Not that you're boring or anything, Rob, but I need to be active, engaged, keep my mind sharp, and so on. And so, we'll see what's available, if there's options available. I'll certainly consider them at the end of my term. And if not, I'd love to get re-engaged in volunteer work, which I did a lot of before I became mayor, but unfortunately that slipped by the side because just not enough time to be mayor and a volunteer, and maybe sit on a couple of not-for-profit and charity boards.
I want to focus on some of the issues that have been in the news recently, say over the last year or so, and then we can spend some time looking at the bigger picture, kind of the longer time frame, your time as Mayor of Ottawa. So with that being said, light rail, there's going to be a public inquiry called by the province. Your position was clear. You didn't think the city needed a public inquiry. You might be called to appear as a witness at that public inquiry, and now there are all kinds of rumors that phase 2 of light rail construction is behind schedule. These problems with light rail, Mayor Watson, what factor, if any, did they play in your decision not to seek re-election?
Well, really none, Rob, because, as I said, on election night 3 years ago, I made that decision. We didn't have the problems with LRT until after that. But, politicians love to take credit and get in the photo ops for projects that go well. We also have to take responsibility when they don't go well, and that's part of my job over the course of next year is to work with our new management team, the new safety company that we hired. It's starting to bear fruit in the sense that in the last, I think, 5 or 6 weeks of service, we've had very good service, and we have to continue to keep pressure on those companies and withhold funds when they're not performing. When the system, I've said this to you many times, when the system is running and when it's reliable and convenient, it works very well. And I think we saw with the really the chaos of the R1 bus service, people do miss the train, when it was out of service. So my objective over the course of 11 months is to stabilize the service, to ensure that we have the necessary people with the skill set, and to continue building LRT farther east, west, and south.
Okay. I've asked former Ottawa Mayor Larry O'Brien if he has any regrets about hitting the reset button. And he has told me as recently as just a few months ago that he has no regrets about hitting the reset button. Do you have any regrets about this project, Mayor Watson? Do you think it will be worth it for the city in the end, all of this turmoil?
A very definite yes. If you look back to other cities, Rob, like, how would Montreal function without their metro system, or how would Toronto function without their subway TTC system? When you become a city of 1 million population, which we did, you have to start thinking in bigger terms. Big cities require big projects, and with big projects come big challenges, and often things that are within your grasp and other things that aren't within your grasp. But at the end of the day, I think it was the right decision, and I've been fortunate to build upon previous mayors and councils and so on to get these projects off the ground. And one of the things I said was I'm proud of is that we had a lot of projects like LRT, Lansdowne Park, the Ottawa Art Gallery Innovation Center that were stuck in the mud for a long time, never seemed to leave the drawing table to shovels in the ground, and we actually got these projects done. Most of them very well. Obviously, the LRT not as well, and that's why we've withheld funding, millions and millions of dollars from our partners, and we offered a no-charge service to our customers as a way of saying, we've let you down and we have to do better.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned the other city projects. I wanted to talk about a couple of them. Lansdowne is one of them. I was a big fan of redeveloping Lansdowne Park. I remember what was there before. It was a money-losing white elephant in the middle of the city, and contrary to what Clive Doucette thinks, Lansdowne Park was never a park.
That's right.
He keeps saying that. I don't know why he keeps saying that.
He keeps calling it big box stores, and so on.
But look,
I think it's been...
It's having its problems, though, Mr. Mayor. There's uncertainty about what we're going to do with the North Side stands, the Civic Center. The retail's not doing well. Do you think that was a good project? A good project?
Well, it was. I think if you take all of those things in isolation, retail has had challenges on every single street in every single country in the world because of the pandemic. So it was, when it was operating pre-pandemic, it was doing very, very well. It's still doing very well. We have great partners with OSEG, credible people, local people like Roger Greenberg and Jeff Hunt and so on. And you're quite right. It used to be 40 acres of cruddy old asphalt, run-down buildings. We had to tear the south side stands down. But the next phase of Lansdowne, because we're not going to maintain just sort of, status quo, is we have to improve the north side experience and the Civic Center. They're showing their age, obviously over 50 years of age. But I think anyone who I see, and I go to Lansdowne a lot, whether it's the farmer's market or the flea market or go to see a movie, people really enjoy the fact that we've taken this site that, quite frankly, was an embarrassment, added more trees, green space, an apple orchard, a skating rink, skateboard park, children's play area, community garden, lots of retail, movie theater, and a lot of new sports franchises have come to Lansdowne in the last year as well.
Okay, I want to ask you as well, another city project that I'm in favor of but has many doubters is the new main branch of the Ottawa Library. How do you counter the doubters, the critics of that project, Mr. Mayor?
Well, you look at the history of revitalized libraries across North America. They've turned into almost tourist hubs. You think of Halifax, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, and we're joining that league, but we're doing it even better than those cities because we're going to make a joint effort with Library and Archives Canada and a net carbon zero building. And people have been predicting the demise of libraries, for decades and decades, well, radio's here and it's going to let people, not go and no need to go and visit the library or television or the internet. There's, no club in Ottawa that has more members than the Ottawa Public Library. And I think with it being so close to the Pimesty LRT station, it's going to be a real gathering point and something we're going to be very, very proud of.
Let's talk about your leadership style as the mayor with your council colleagues. How do you view these allegations that there is a quote-unquote Watson Club? Your critics have called you an autocrat. Some members of the council have called your supporters around the council table. They've been called bobbleheads. They've been called cronies. Those are words that have been used, Mr. Cronies. Cronies. They're cronies of yours. How do you view that impression of your leadership?
Well, obviously I disagree with it. Each member of council is independent, but, the job of the mayor, as you know, Rob, is to bring his or her agenda forward and work to achieve success in that agenda by passing it. And just as when I get elected, the majority of people who vote for me, I get to become the mayor. If a majority vote takes place on whether it's a new library or revitalizing Lansdowne or whatever project, that's the council decision. So I always find it interesting that people who support me are a bunch of bobbleheads, but people who support the other side, well, they're all independent, even though they vote all the same way all the time. So it's quite ironic. I like to work with people who want to see things done and not simply pontificate and drag their feet and say no to everything. It's easy in politics to oppose. It's a lot tougher to propose. And as I said, a lot of the projects that I've been proud to be associated with were stuck in the mud for years, sometimes decades. And I like getting stuff done. I don't want to just sit around and wring my hands and hope for another failed project. I want to get moving on some of these projects. And I think you see the evidence of that, the number of cranes in the city skylight. We're revitalizing our economy post-COVID, whether it's the tourism industry or the high-tech sector. And I'm proud of the fact that, we've been able to get these projects through, notwithstanding opposition from members of council who didn't want to see a particular project. But at the end of the day, democracy rules that the group or the project that gets the largest number of votes, that's the decision of the council, and move on as opposed to sort of rehashing, debates about Lansdowne Park for another 30 years.
In my Snow and 60 commentary today, I was reminding people of all the difficult times that the city has been through and how you were there as mayor to help guide residents through some of those tough times. Floods, tornadoes, bus train collision, Westboro bus crash, shooting at the War Memorial, attack on Parliament Hill. What's it like to be mayor of Ottawa during those challenging times?
Well, quite frankly, challenging. Those are, in some instances, a tragic situation that lives were lost and others, property was lost. And I think one of the important lessons I've learned over the years is, don't panic when these situations take place. Rely on your professional staff, whether it's police or paramedics or fire or city staff. And the other lesson, I've been asked, what advice would you give to future mayoralty candidates? Please don't overpromise and underdeliver. Put forward a serious, thoughtful, realistic, and affordable platform that you can get through council. Otherwise, it's not good enough any day these days to simply say, well, I put it forward and it lost in a vote, so I tried. Well, don't propose something unless you know that you can get it across the finish line, because it chips, by keeping your promises, and I keep my promise book beside my desk to check off those things I made a commitment to in the last election. You've got to be realistic and upfront and honest with the public. And it may not always be good news. It may not always taste good. But I think what you have to do is recognize you're one vote of 24, but you may have a little bit more influence. And you've got to work every single vote with your colleagues to get them on board to get your platform through. But I've seen too many people in a desperate strait to get elected just throw everything but the kitchen sink at the electorate, hoping that someone will buy their vision.
All right, from bad times to good times. I think many, many years from now, when we're much older men, and I'll think about your time as mayor. I'm going to think about Canada 150. I'm going to think of La Machine. I'm going to think about how we invited Canadians to enjoy their capital city. Was that a highlight for you, Mr. Mayor?
It really was. You know, you mentioned some of the great events, the Juno Awards, the Outdoor NHL Classic, the Grey Cup, the picnic on the bridge. We really, with great leadership of Guy Laflamme and others on the Ottawa 2017 group, put on a show that I don't think we're going to see for some time. It was very well done, very well executed, and it brought a sense of pride to our city and to our country. And it's certainly one of the highlights of my time, no question about that. But interesting, another highlight, and it sounds strange to say this, is COVID-19. Not because of the tragedy of 600 plus lives lost, but because the city did come together, and we're still battling it, obviously. But I've seen, neighbor helping neighbor, stranger helping stranger. Our staff rose to the challenge. Dr. Etches, Tony DeMonte, Steve Kanalakis, Donna Gray, Pierre Poirier, all of these leaders rose to the challenge with our civic workforce on everything from vaccination centers, testing centers, and contact tracing, and so on. And I'm very, very proud to have been part of that team that oversaw this biggest challenge in our generation.
So you have less than a year now. What remains unfinished? What do you want to finish before you leave?
Well, I want to make sure that shovels get in the ground for the library. That's our biggest civic funded project. Obviously, continuation of Phase 2 construction. And also, even though it's not a city project, it has great ramifications, is the Civic Hospital, making sure it continues to move along and get the provincial funding in place and all of the approvals, because that will be the single largest infrastructure project outside of the city's purview that will be a real city building project as a state-of-the-art hospital, not just for Ottawa, but all of Eastern Ontario and Western Quebec.
Thank you, Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson, for
My
your
pleasure.
time.
Thank you very much,
We'll talk
Bob.
soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Hi, I'm Cherry.
So Rideau Rockcliffe Community Resource Centre has been around since 1982, and it's here to serve residents of Ward 13. So our focus is on helping to reduce poverty in this community, as well as empowering residents to find resilience within themselves. So one of the new focuses of our centre is around food programming. So you'll notice today when we go around on a little tour that we have a number of food programs here at the center. So one being obviously our emergency food program, which is really great. So residents can come and access food when they are in need. We also have a number of food-based social enterprises here at Rideau Rockcliffe as well. So one being the Ottawa Good Food Box, another being Market Mobile. One of our new initiatives that started this year as response to COVID is called Good Food on the Move, and it's a click and collect online store, and we have 7 pickup locations throughout the city. More sort of local here for Ward 13 residents, we've also started a free produce market as well. So community members can come on Wednesdays and Fridays and be able to access additional free fruits and vegetables.
Social Harvest Ottawa is one of the social enterprises here at the Rideau Rockcliffe Community Resource Centre. We operate this great urban greenhouse, and our work is not only to grow nutritious and delicious food, but also to nourish communities with community members here in Ward 13 and beyond. The greenhouse is a year-round project. We're a team of 4 employees working here. We have 2 full-time employees and 2 part-time employees. We focus on growing microgreens from late fall to early spring, and hothouse crops in the summertime, such as tomatoes and cucumbers.
The Mission Food Truck we're in our 5th week of collaborating with them to come visit our center, and we just got in on it at the right time. They were looking for new communities to branch out to. They said absolutely. Right now they're funded through donations. They travel around Ottawa and just give out delicious, fresh, hot food to people as well. We have at our center the Ottawa Good Food Box, as well as the Market Mobile. So Ottawa Good Food Box has been around for 25 years, and Market Mobile is a little younger, started in 2014. So they both have the mission and the mandate of making fresh food more accessible and affordable in neighborhoods that lack access to a grocery store. So I think the greatest need that we've seen as a result of the pandemic in our community is people that we maybe have never needed to access our services before, right? So a lot of people have had, layoffs. Maybe they're just not able to work because they have to stay home with their children, over the summer, that sort of thing. So we've definitely seen the need go out, particularly for our food programming, as well as some of our counseling services as well. So it's a heavy time for people emotionally.
Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's time for Money Mondays with Peter Fraser. Back with us, financial planner, Cardinal Planning, Manulife Securities here in Ottawa. Cardinal Planning and Manulife Securities here in Ottawa. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Rob.
So last week we talked about turning those non-planners into planners. Let's do a quick recap of how do non-planners become planners? The how.
Right. Well, we talked quickly about deciding, first of all, that you're going to invest some time and commitment to building your first plan. And we suggested that people interview for a planner, especially looking for the gold standard. That would be the Certified Financial Planner credential. Listeners can go to fpcanada.ca or to cardinalplanning.ca and check out where they could find such a person in their area. Then we talked about evaluating for things like comfort, fit, competency, references, and obviously asking a lot of questions along the way, not the least of which has to do with compensation.
Right. How do I pay you? How do I pay you? Yeah, exactly.
Correct,
yeah. So let's turn our attention then to the why. Why have a financial plan?
Good. Well, Simon Sinek, who people may know as a best-selling author and speaker, has a great speech and book called Start With Why. But in other words, he's saying start with what's the purpose. And I thought that fit well this week. So why number one, or purpose number one, in my view, are that plans deliver more success. And the fact is that more goals are accomplished with a financial plan than without one. None other than Yogi Berra said that if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. So I've got 3 quick benefits of setting goals that are financial planning related. One is, my observation is that they drive more direction, a greater sense of direction. They drive more focus. And for a lot of people these days, they drive increasing levels of control. And all of those are great success outcomes that I think make up, in my view, the number one purpose for getting a plan.
Okay.
Number 2 is that I think plans boost confidence.
Okay.
Forbes and Schwab are big powerhouse financial enterprises in the U.S. They study this in depth, and their ongoing conclusion, this isn't a one and done, but they're big believers that financial plans drive up confidence. And 54% of the people they interview who happen to consider themselves to be planners, not the professionals, but owning financial plans, are very confident that they'll succeed in what they've set their mind to. And that compares really favorably to just 18% of what I call non-planners who feel the same way about their outcomes. So I think part of that is that learning through trial and error is costly, and people remember some of those costly mistakes, and it damages their confidence.
Or, maybe it helps shut out a lot of the noise, and goodness knows there's a lot of noise, right?
Absolutely.
All the time. And, you can kind of be at peace, right? Better, that's okay. I have a plan. I'm sticking to my plan, whatever.
Yep.
But better habits and outcomes as well, right? Is another thing.
Purpose number 3, from my point of view, is that plans do exactly that. They drive better habits. And, a good financial plan obviously does incorporate successful investing, but it also generates other very beneficial general money habits. So, for example, 65% of planners have an emergency fund, and that's more than twice the number of non-planners who have one. And 71% of planners are really aware of the fees they pay for the services that they receive, and that's more than double the number of non-planners. So the better habits, better outcomes. Another good example is that planners incorporate the corrosive effects of things like taxes and inflation. They're very acutely aware of that in protecting their wealth. So a good investing is just one of many good money habits that practically emerge from having a good plan. But
stability.
I think
stability. It can provide stability.
This last one I think is most germane. So if we hearken back to coming up on 2 years ago, those 22 trading days when COVID hit the world saw a 32% market drop, but they were also amongst the most volatile. So in a brand new study in 2021, and listeners can find that at cardinalplanning.ca too, it's called The Value of Advice. And the bottom line was they wanted to know about behavior during these remarkable times. And you could apply it now because we've got Omicron and other things, but the conclusion is that clients in a relationship with advice and a plan navigated that last collapse extremely well. And the purpose here that we call stability is sort of delivered in spades. And investors who had a plan and navigated during those tough times came out just fine, which I think is I call it number 4, but arguably I think it could compete for purpose number 1.
Right. Okay. So the study results are available at cardinalplanning.ca. So we've talked about the how, we've talked about the why.
Why?
Right.
Yeah.
So very good. Yep.
The last word on this might just be that the trend to me looks like more and more investors appear to be looking for expertise that's personalized, that's tailored, and that's unique to them, and expertise that goes beyond traditional advice on investments. So if we're of the view that uncertainty and extremes are here to stay, and I think you could make that case, then more and more people seem to be determined to succeed in spite of that. And my observation is that's because of the strength and the success and the accomplishments that they're experiencing in their financial planning endeavors.
Thank you, Peter.
Take care, Rob.
Yeah,
Maybe for Christmas or New Year's is a financial plan number 1 idea.
Excellent. Excellent, Peter. Thank you.
Take care.
With Cardinal Planning and Manulife Securities Incorporated here in Ottawa. That's Money Monday. Back Tuesday, right after the 9 o'clock news. Tomorrow, Sam LaPrade standing by. Special guest with Sam. Running for mayor is Catherine McKenney. They'll join Sam this afternoon. That's coming right up after the news on City News.
The Rob Snow Show.
Tune in weekdays starting at 9 on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Number 1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley.
If you're looking to hire for maximum results, visit This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.